things that's happening is when there was the mass exodus, when there was the multiple bannings, everybody was getting tossed out everywhere. As, you said, "Hey, I like Trump." Bam, gone. You're just gone. Like, what? Why? What did I do?
Uh,
In like the Discord channel, there was never. See, one of the things, Marcel, you may not know about Santa, and I think you may know a little bit, but is that she never advocates for any violence. She's a super happy, super positive, upbeat. That's what it's all about. And I'm the same way. It's never about violence. It's never about anything like that at all. And that's what they were banning all these people for. But you get lumped in with that big wide brush, and they just banned everybody. And then we kind of ended up on Telegram that way. Like that's how we ended up here. It's because
yeah.
it was like we need an island somewhere where we can go. And a
Well,
lot of people came to Telegram. I mean, there's a lot of channels at 200, 300, 400, 500,000 people on them.
hmm
Yours has got a couple 100,000, and mine's like what, 18 or whatever it is. And but that's the thing is that there's like a natural slow loss of people off of Telegram. And I think now that there's some more freedom in Twitter, I think some people are just like, I don't need Telegram anymore. I think we might be seeing some of that. But there's still a long ways to go as far as censorship and stuff like that. There's no doubt about it. YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. Although I don't think Facebook is doing too well right now.
no,
They're
no.
having a rough one right now.
So we,
Okay. Yeah, my name is Aaron. I run the AMC Archive channel on Telegram. What we do is an educational channel. I'm here to help people. That's what I like to do. I like to help people. I don't really push the channel too much. I mean, you can ask Santa about that. I'm not about gaining a shit ton of followers. That's not what I'm all about. I'm all about helping people and having a little bit of a smaller following is actually good because I talk with a lot of my people one on one, and they ask me questions, and I try to help them figure stuff out, and that's just like Marcel was saying earlier too, in that there's not a lot of education out there. But a lot of people don't understand how the markets work or how different things work, and there's a reason for that. The markets
mhm,
are complex on purpose. They're complex so that way average retail investors don't understand it, don't take the time to understand it, and therefore are going to lose because of that. That's the
mhm.
whole purpose of making it complex like that. So I like to break things down, make them simple. We have a great family on the Telegram. Everybody's super positive. There's very little shill action. We do get the rogue thumbs down guy. He
Whatever.
on
Yeah.
every post, there's one or
Got
two
you guys.
thumbs down on every post, regardless of what the post is. Every single time, that this I think there's just a couple people that just hang out. And that's what they like to do. But the rest of the family, super positive, super happy people, eager to learn, and they teach others. And that's another great thing is when you learn stuff and you teach it and you spread that education out. That's how us as retail become as stronger as a group because we're strong as a group because of our massive numbers, but we're
hmm
getting stronger every single day because of the knowledge that's shared and how we support each other and pick each other up, and that's what makes us dangerous. That's why they're trying to take us out.
hmm
I
Yep.
got I got people
Especially with the,
asking why you have a cartoon for a picture.
Because I don't have a webcam. That's actually me, by the way. That's a very accurate likeness, and I have palm trees behind me. No, I'm in Maine. I don't have a camera on my main setup, so I already said I guess I'm gonna have to get that and do that at some point. Um, but I am very handsome. Just so you know ahead of time,
Yes,
I'm
yes, yes.
very handsome in a Maine outdoor rugged lobsterman kind of thing.
Outdoor
I live
Maine
on the coast of
lobsterman.
Maine, so I get lobster really cheap, 4.99 a pound. It's awesome. And yeah, so that's why I have an avatar.
So I went ahead and posted on locals, Telegram. It's not Telegram, Twitter and Truth, that I was going to have a podcast with you both. And
Cool.
the people on locals were on fire on Twitter and on Truth. Yes. So I had a lot of questions, and you both have so much knowledge. I think I'm just going to just toss some things out there. And I truly, if I do have the deer with the headlight look on my face, it is because I really don't understand. And if I don't understand, then it's hard for me to explain to my viewers because they may watch your podcast, but you know what's going to happen. I'll do a live show and I'll say, okay, did you have any questions? And I'm going to get bam, 20 questions will hit all at once. Like, exactly what did Marcel mean by this? Or what did Aaron mean by this? And I explain things in very simple terms and I throw a squirrel in from time to time because I do go squirrel. Which is distracted. So
Before
I
you
like,
do, would you mind if I ask where people can find your channel as well, so that I can put it up for them?
Everything is Santa Surfing. Yep. So Telegram at Santa Surfing. Twitter at Santa Surfing, Truth at Santa Surfing.
Awesome.
Let's see, I'm trying to think. That's it.
Oh, I
Did I
found
miss
you.
any?
That's perfect. Thank you. This is exactly what we're talking about. Wanted for treason, zombie Joe Biden. That's exactly right.
Yeah, that's so that's yeah. And so I tend to share more of the news, and then it ties in, like there's this big news that just came out about Bank of America is very concerned about the US going into default. When did they ever get concerned? Because they're not seeing bailout money. So they don't want that to happen, but you guys can dive deeper into that because okay, how would I say this?
Here's the squirrel.
Yeah,
This
no,
is
no,
the
I'm trying to,
squirrel part.
I'm actually need to share a lot of stuff. And right now I'm waiting for the JP Morgan news. So Bank of America and JP Morgan executives were both at WEF. And just kind of letting you know those were arrest walks, the walk of shames that were happening. You can decide, but those were the walk of shames. So those two bankers were there at WEF. So we've got Bank of America, who just Brian, he's freaking out. And then we got the old little soy boy, Jamie Dimon. Sorry, I have nicknames too. But we have Jamie Dimon, who's probably like Wang because you know he's next up. When that JP Morgan news hits, where I'm told everything is going to start moving so fast, all hands on deck, hyperdrive. People that were taking a nap because they wanted to break away from this movie and they need to wake up. We need to wake them up. So I'm not too sure how we want to go about this because this could be a 5-hour podcast with all the knowledge you two have. But your insights and your would really help the audience that I have, and I think for a lot of people because you both explain things really well. And just to let you, you know, I will definitely Aaron's audience knows this, but Marcel, whenever I have a problem, I call Aaron and he just walks me through it like I'm a third grader, and I'm like, okay, got it. I know I got it. So that's kind of how I
Awesome. That's
am.
great.
But again, my audience is incredibly engaged and they love to know what's going on firsthand. So I'm going to actually do a screen share of some of the questions, but if you want to go ahead
Okay,
and
cool.
I think one thing, what I found extremely interesting about this WEF was Klaus Schwab not being there. Don't you find that odd? That's his jam. That's his bag, baby. And he ain't gonna be there? What? Okay. Who else wasn't there? Soros wasn't there. Okay.
All the top
That's
guys
also
showing up.
is Bill Gates wasn't there. Excuse, Santa. I know your audience. I am probably going to be Marcel. This is like a little side joke here, but you'll get it. Santa doesn't typically cuss. She's not like a swearing kind of individual. So anytime that we have a podcast, whenever I swear, I get put in the penalty box. So
no, remember, this is also, we're out in the streets talking right now. So this is all open forum.
Streets, yo.
We're out in the streets here. I might even drop, I might say freak.
Oh, no. All right. So anyways, yeah, I mean, that is a super odd WEF. I mean, think about that. Pretty much 3 of the main Satans on Earth don't go to their big Satan meeting. What is it? I mean, something is definitely up. As far as J.P. Morgan and Bank of America, I mean, I'm going to refer back to that the derivatives that they have, and they're they're looking at that stuff because they're really upset. And let me do this here. For people from my show, you guys are going to love this because, bam, paint.
Excellent. My favorite.
Yeah, my family
Oh,
loves the paint. Here we go. JP Morgan Chase 55 trillion with a T in derivatives exposure. Goldman Sachs 51 trillion, Citibank 46, Bank of America 22, Wells Fargo 12. And I mean State Street 2 trillion. I mean that's not chump change either. But those top 5, they're in some serious hawk. And when things come crashing down, those 5 are gone. If they don't have bailouts, they're gone. Those
mhm.
5 are done and gone. And when they say, when someone like Bank of America, like you just shared that news, that Bank of America says, hey, we're concerned that the US is going to default on the debt. Yeah, they're concerned because they ain't going to get bailed out. They're going to be fucked and they're going to go under. All these banks are way too overexposed. I mean, a certain amount of exposure is actually normal. You should have some exposure to derivatives. But when you're talking almost the entire GDP of the whole planet Earth is your exposure to derivatives, like the whole planet Earth is like 80 trillion GDP. I looked it up a couple, 3 months ago. So, like the whole gross domestic product of the entire planet Earth, this isn't one country, the whole planet is 80 trillion. So, JP Morgan has like 65% of the entire GDP of the whole planet in exposure to derivatives. And the top 2 have more. So,
Yeah.
like, I mean, 140, 150, 170. I mean, it's almost 200. That's like 200 trillion in exposure to derivatives. That's 2.5 times the
Mhm.
entire planet's gross domestic product. It's sick. It's absolutely sick.
Let me add to your point there. The Office of the Comptroller of the Currency is the one that reports on the cumulative trading revenue of these banks, and there was 1,211 insured U.S. national and state commercial banks and savings associations that hold derivatives. And out of that 1,211, the top 4 largest banks hold 88% of the total banking industry notional amounts of derivatives. So everything that we saw previously happen with Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns in 2008 is just been multiplied dozens of times over from where it was at back in '08 after the global financial crisis. And derivatives contracts are pretty concentrated in interest rate products, which are over 72% of the total derivative notionals. And the percentage of these that are actually centrally cleared, which means that go through a lit market, is only 41.7%. Out of that, the other, 59% or so of products, derivatives products, are traded over the counter. So that means from one desk to another desk, and they never hit, the lit exchanges. They don't hit lit markets. It's pretty much all these is the players that are swapping amongst each others and rehypothecating the same debts and assets and liabilities over and over again. And that's where the major problems come in. They like to claim that using something like bilateral netting allows them to trade the risk back and forth in order to allow these derivatives to cancel each other out. The fact of the matter is that, as Woody was saying here just moments ago, it is so over leveraged to the point where J.P. Morgan's only got about $4 or $5 trillion in assets compared to their $55 trillion in liabilities. Goldman Sachs only has around $2 trillion in assets with their $40 trillion in liabilities. So in 2008-09, the banks thought that they were pretty much invincible, and they have since come to the realization that all the rehypothecations that are doing have done nothing more than hide the risk in each other's, filing cabinets. And when we really see these issues come to light is when, we have actual market collapses, just like we did previously in 2008, 2009, and we've seen in other times, 2013, 2016, etc., for various reasons, whether it be debt ceiling issues or just issues with GDP.
I did not know their assets were that low. It's like 10% of what their liabilities are.
Less,
So,
yeah, even
or
less.
less. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, and let's say Bank of America is saying we're tapping out. The government allegedly is running out of money by summer of this year. So if they're saying we're tapping out, we actually have to close our doors. Your opinions, both of you, I'm just curious what your opinions are on what would happen um, to the mark. Well, of course, from what I was told, that all their credit holdings, anybody who had like a credit card with them, it goes away because it's essentially they're claiming bankruptcy or filing for bankruptcy or closing up shop. But I again am
No,
nope. Okay.
somebody else would
What
take it
is
over.
okay? So they would just literally close up shop because
No, they would. The banks could fail, but somebody else would buy their liabilities and their assets in order to take
okay.
payment on them. That's what happened with Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns in 2008. For example, here I've actually just pulled it up. You've got to look at both onshore and offshore. And when you're talking about like Bank of America, for example, they've got $2.4 trillion in assets and $21.5 trillion in derivatives. And that's for banks. Then you've got to look at their holding companies as well, because that's
Okay.
separate. Then you look at their holding companies. These things, this report that I'm looking at, I'm not sharing my screen right now with you guys on Zoom, but it's just a bunch of numbers anyway. It's the third quarter 2022 derivatives report from the, what's it called here? From the Bank Trading and Derivatives Report from the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, and it's the most recent one available. But aside from that, yeah, they've got $2.4 trillion in assets, almost $22 trillion in liabilities, and then they've got about the same amounts over in their holding companies as well. So it's around $44 trillion in liabilities and around $4.5 trillion in assets, which is actually absolutely ridiculous. And the netting benefit is the gross credit exposure that's eliminated through bilateral netting, percentage-wise, which basically started to collapse pretty greatly in 2021, but increases in use of the reverse repurchase program by the Federal Reserve, kind of helps them to continue doing this bilateral netting amongst each others. They compare their gross positive fair value from some of their reports minus the net current credit exposure from others. So it's really just a numbers game with these guys. And they can continue kicking the
It's a
can
shell
for
game.
quite a long while. It's a shell game. There you go.
Okay.
It's a shell game. We're just going to move this here. We're going to move this over here. Oh, we owe you that. We're going to move it over here. It's just a bunch of friggin' paper shuffling with no
Okay.
with nothing really backing anything, and everybody is over leveraged to the nuts. Like I'm going to put $100 in an account, but you're going to let me borrow 478 trillion using that $100. So I'm leveraged 478 billion to one. Thanks. Awesome. Oh wait, you're not going to margin call me too? Fucking beautiful. But at one point, what's going to happen is the people who are issuing this margin, in other words, the lenders, at
Mm.
some point, the lenders are going to be asked, "Hey, hey lender, we want our money. Like you've got to pay this money." And then the lenders are going to turn to all these people they gave these ridiculous margins to and say, "Hey, by the way, you need to start ponying up some cash here." And that's something that is I've talked about for a while now, is that liquidity is drying up. And when I say liquidity, I don't necessarily mean like there's two kinds of liquidity. Like in the stock market, it's how how many stocks are available to trade, how many are moving around back and forth, available to borrow, all that kind of stuff. I'm talking liquidity, cash, like money, like
Mm.
liquid money, available cash capital that you can use to buy, to leverage whatever. That's drying up. That's disappearing, And because interest rates are going up, and because of all this massive over leveraging, the people putting $100 collateral and getting millions of dollars worth on that $100, because of all of that, liquidity is absolutely drying up. And at some point, these lenders are going to say, we need liquidity. We have to have liquidity for ourselves. And it's a question I get asked all the time. Well, can't these guys just help each other and, pretend like they don't? Yeah, to a point. But if it comes down to, if I'm a lender and
Mhm.
you're a hedgy, and
Uh-huh.
and I need, $200 billion by next Thursday, and you owe me that, I'm not going to say, hey, you know what? It's cool. We're cool. We're good. I'll just go default, and I'll go under. You then you won't have to. No, I'm gonna do. Where's my money? Pay me my money. And at some point, that's going to happen. That's going to break. And once that starts happening, it's going to be a massive domino effect across the whole market, because they're all so interlinked together that it's just going to be that way. One is going to take out the other. It's just going to take out the other, because they're so intermingled and incestuous that everything is mixed all through together. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, it is. It's fucked up, but it's true.
Aren't they
It-
going through that right now,
oh
though?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
so many people say nothing's happening, nothing's ever happening, nothing's going to happen, all this kind of stuff. Look, like, open your eyes. FTX, if nothing was happening, would we have even heard about FTX? Would we know that FTX even existed?
Well,
No.
yeah, exactly. So why
All
was
these
that one
things.
exposed? Because so many big players were involved. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm because there are plenty of crypto companies, although
Yeah.
I'm very careful about talking
FTX
about
was
crypto.
massive. That's why. Yeah, they had
Okay.
almost 10 million, users that were affected by it. Just regular people like you and I that were trading on FTX as a
Mhm.
crypto exchange. And then
Uh,
the major problem was there, aside from all the, there was a huge amount of crime going on there, and it's a lot bigger than most people realize. They were using customers' assets for their hedge fund. They were just shuffling it over to their hedge fund called Alameda Research, and
mhm.
without the permission of the users, were spending that money to try to, well, just betting it on the market. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Aside from that, they were also creating tokenized securities, and tokenized securities are basically cryptocurrency that is based off the underlying value, an underlying asset, such as stocks like AMC and GameStop.
Mhm.
And they created more shares than the entire float of each company, you know, of these two securities, both GameStop and AMC, respectively and separately, in order to allow broker dealers to use those to lend out shares that were not really existent. They were phantom shares of
My
these
God.
companies that were never really purchased by FTX, but FTX and Bittrex also claimed that they had purchased them. We found out that they never purchased them because on their bankruptcy reports, they weren't listed as an asset. So even though they had sold, 525 million shares of AMC via their tokenized security, they had only 516 million exist, and retail owns 85% of those shares. ETFs own the other 5%. Short interest is around 23%. Insiders own another 4%, and they had sold around 105, 110% on top of that because they never
That
actually
puts it to
bought
two
those.
point.
Yeah,
No,
we're
that's
like over
That's a lot
ridiculous.
of percents.
225%, right?
That's a lot of percents. It is. Doesn't it end at 100?
It's
So,
supposed to,
yeah,
yes, but
Yeah, it's
yeah.
supposed to.
that's just some of the
Okay.
proof as to what's going on here with the assets that and the synthetic shares, phantom shares, if you will, that were created in order to allow hedge funds and family offices to borrow against these companies and continue to short them without a high cost to borrow. And that's really important because that prevents them from getting margin called by their prime brokers and such, that have $189 trillion in total notional derivatives at stake.
And they get
I
away
find it
with it.
interesting.
And,
FTX goes
yeah.
down. All the fake shares that they created, essentially. To simplify what FTX did, They made a bullshit crypto coin
Yeah.
and said, if you buy one of these coins, each of these coins is backed by a real share of AMC. They never went out and purchased a real share of AMC.
People bought it. Oh my
And
gosh.
people, well, it's not even necessarily people that bought them. Some people I'm sure did, but the biggest thing is now shorts and hedge
Mm.
funds, etc., can buy these, close out positions with them, use them to short more, all these kind of fuckery that they use to manipulate the price. Well, I find it incredibly interesting that the lowest the price got. When was the lowest the price got? When when exactly was the lowest that
It was
ape got?
it was about 4 weeks ago, and it was at
Yeah,
66 cents or so, about
yeah, like
64 cents.
mid-December.
Yep,
Mid-December.
something like that.
So not long after FTX crashes out, all of a sudden now we're starting to see positive price action, and I'm sure there's a ton of factors, but having a whole shitload of fake ass shares floating around that people can use to manipulate your stuff, that doesn't help anything. And a lot of these crypto brokers, my recommendation is this: if you have crypto, you want to do crypto, you store crypto, you think it's a great investment, hey, that's on you. Be
Mm.
friggin' safe. I'm gonna say I can't think of a crypto broker that I would trust right now with my crypto if I had some. I would highly recommend that you get your crypto onto like a Ledger Nano, which is like a little USB drive, and you plug it in. There's some steps to it, and it's not super easy, but that's what I would highly recommend that you do is take your crypto and put it onto that USB Ledger Nano. You do
Right.
that, you are in physical possession. Now, don't forget your password. That you forget your password, your crypto's
You're
gone.
done.
Never get it
Right.
back.
Right.
Uh, and don't lose your USB drive. But at least you're in control of it.
Okay.
You have it in a
Well,
broker like the CoinDesk and the BitRx and FTX and all these other places. Voyager had an issue. I mean, how many crypto brokers have gone belly up lately? And people end up with nothing. Like they have you get zero.
it's horrible. I hate what is happening to the retail investors. I really do. I'm not a crypto investor. I didn't even know how to open up a lobster account. I was like, what the heck is that? I just know you eat lobster. That's it.
I can
I
help
told
you
you
on.
I'm a little wacky. Okay, I have a question. You both were talking about Aldani. What was going on with that? Is it Aldon
Adani,
Aldani? Yeah,
Adani.
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 Hmm.
Can you tell me about that? Can you tell us a little bit about that? And can somebody share a screen on it? Because I don't have a screen on that. There was something that happened last week and that it was kind of massive. And I thought I'm going to hold my questions for today because I was really interested because that could be part of the domino effect of the markets crashing. If you want to talk about it.
Adani is essentially run by the third richest person on earth.
Okay.
And it's basically one of the biggest Ponzi schemes that has ever existed. And since it's come out, what is it, Hildeberg? Was it
Hindenburg
Hildeberg
Research.
Research? Yeah, Hildeberg Research did a study on him. The boss is bringing some stuff up here. But
Okay.
ever since that has come out, they've just absolutely tanked. And I don't have a ridiculous amount of details. I know the overlying story, and I'm sure Marcel has more details than I do about the Adani group. Um, but yeah, it's a massive hit because I am sure a lot of hedge funds, market makers, etc., are are
Thank you.
using Adani paper as collateral, just like they were using Evergrande paper as collateral. So this is just another facet of the incestuous house of cards that
Mm,
it's just all these pieces are falling. This is just another piece in the house of cards. Uh, that's why I say liquidity is drying up because instead of using actual cash to do these margins, to do these loans, to do these, this leverage, instead of saying, hey, here's $100, I'm going to give you a piece of paper that's part of this company for $100 for my collateral instead.
got it.
Then the company shits the bed Okay. Let me clarify what shit the bed is. For those who don't know, I don't know if this is just a main term. I think it is. Shit the bed doesn't mean, you roll up. That's not what it is. It means something died. Like if your truck shit the bed, your truck died. Um, but yeah, these all these pieces that keep going down are just dominoing and House of Cards. It is literally a domino effect. One is affecting the other because they all have paper in each other to shift the money around. And as each of these goes down, their access to money disappears.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So that drop, that 59% drop, is that 59% or 50% drop? Is that in one day?
That was in a matter of a few days. It was in about
Oh,
5 day period, but it all happened really quickly for them.
oh
They're
my.
hanging on right now. But yeah, I've
Okay.
got more information up here too that I'm about to pull up. Basically,
Okay.
they're doing all sorts of things at Adani. You know, they're laundering money, they're washing money, they are buying
Oh,
their own company stocks to prop them up, and reporting false numbers, false information, stock manipulation, accounting fraud. You know, it's one of the largest frauds in history, and that's why
amazing.
these guys are being seen. And they were gonna also sell more. I think they were gonna issue a bond sale, and they had to cancel that because of the stock plummeting. So
Mhm.
Okay.
yeah, Adani themselves lost around 120 billion just in a matter of a few days. 120 billion dollars off their market cap.
It just amazes me that these corrupt companies get away with all of their stuff. You know what I was going to say, but I didn't say it. Okay. Get away with all their stuff. And the government regulators still haven't, well, we don't know that, but on the public eye, they haven't done anything, especially with this. I mean, it was just like you said, one of the biggest Ponzi schemes out there. It's like, I don't know. I, Mom and Joe Smith could not do something like this. You could be a very wealthy person, but he's doing this so he can do money laundering, so he can FTX the same way. I, I'm just amazed. And then, of course, the JP Morgans and the Bank of America, in my humble opinion, they were like the master money launderers. But we won't go there to right now. I find that fascinating. I was just trying to retweet that, but it was on a screen share.
Oh, I hear that. Right, it's instinctive to go over there and click it and retweet it, right?
Uh,
Yeah, this is
okay.
they actually prepaid today. They prepaid 1.1 billion dollars in loans to lenders that they had
Quite the
previously
pace.
taken by pledging their shares to show that they
Okay.
quote didn't need their loans. But this guy brings up a great point. Where did all this money come from all of a sudden, and why did they take out 1.1 billion dollars in loans if they had their own funds? They were probably using it as a way to launder the money, and it's basically obfuscated by the Indian government. There's a whole lot of nepotism going on there, and it's all linked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, excuse me?
I've been.
No,
One of my dogs loses his mind randomly. So
You could
this,
see.
so
Sorry, go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Some of
Ex
Adani ports, for example, they've lost about half their value. Adani Green, they got a renewables portion of the company. They've lost more than 2/3 of their value. Adani Gas, they went from 4,000 to 1,541. Adani
uh-huh.
Transmission, same thing. They've down about 70%. Their entertainment company, their power holdings, and their main company, they're all down. Hundreds of billions of dollars
This
at
looks like
this
a
point.
BlackRock spreadsheet. I mean,
Pretty
I'm
much.
sorry.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
like India's version of BlackRock, if you will, and they're just as corrupt, and they're linked at the hip with the government. So
Okay.
the fact, and this all goes back to these derivatives that we're talking about because of everything that was going on with Adani over the last week. Citigroup, for example, stopped accepting their their bonds and their shares as is the collateral, and so therefore is the
Really?
banks. Yeah, and so these prime brokers like Citigroup were no longer accepting it. So all of a sudden, what happens is these guys sell off mass. How do I move this thing out of my way? Sell off massive amounts of their company
Hmm.
like that, and it's done by market makers, short hedge funds, prime brokers, etc. they all had to get out of their positions in Adani and move their money over to companies like Apple and Meta, Facebook and stuff. So that's why, even though Meta had an earnings miss, the mainstream media spun a good narrative so that they could all pile into it together and make it seem like it was a good idea. They needed somewhere to put their money that would act as valid as the collateral, so they pulled it out of Adani Group and they moved it over to companies like Meta and Apple and such. And
Oh, got it.
that allowed
Okay.
them to maintain their margin positions, for example, on stocks like AMC and GameStop and so on, and AMC, for example, is running up pretty nicely here. Taking a look at it over the last month, it's up 73% over the last month. Today, as a matter of fact, there was a limit up, limit down halt in which the stock was halted for running up too fast. It ran up around 20%, and they put an immediate halt on it to bring that down, bring that price back down here. It ran up to $7.26, and immediately after the LULD halt, brought it back down to around 680. It's one of those stocks that when this stock gets away from them, there will be a massive amount of short hedge funds and family offices like Melvin Capital and Archegos, for example, going bankrupt and insolvent. And that'll just
Interesting.
all go up the chain to the broker dealers like, Robinhood and IBKR and others, even Fidelity and such, that are providing share locates to those short hedge funds, which
Okay.
are then using those to short the stock. In turn, the broker dealers would have to buy back shares to deliver for the positions of their insolvent borrowers. And if any of them were to go under, then it would go up the chain further to the prime brokers and the DTC, the clearing houses, and NSCC, et cetera.
It's too bad retailers don't have that kind of access, and I think that's one thing that President Trump does really talk about is a level playing field, um, with many things, including, I believe, the markets. But when in our lifetime, I know I'm older than you, Woody. And I know I'm older than you, Marcel, just by looking at you. But when in my lifetime, let's say, you ever
Mentally,
seen so many dominoes fall at the same time? The
yeah,
crooked corporations.
it, it,
Never.
it is. I like to call it the nexus. And if you look up nexus, NEXUS, if you look up that word and what the definition of nexus is, I really feel like we are approaching a nexus of events, and it's not just financial, it's geopolitical, it's social, it's emotional, like it's literally like everything. And it's not just the US, it's worldwide. Like we are approaching a point in time where there is so much shit happening, and it's just ramping up more and more and more, that eventually it's going to give. Like we are at the point where it's about to give. There's too much coming out that shouldn't be coming out, and that's what I always, the people that get depressed, that get down, that say nothing's happening, all those kind of things. You gotta have your eyes open, because things are happening, and you gotta pay attention, and you gotta ignore the distractions like the stupid ass Chinese balloon. Okay, hold on. Number one, what the fuck does China need a balloon for? Why are they using two from 1842? They don't need a hot air balloon. Get the fuck out of here. Number two, any kind of unidentified anything gets close to our country, the military shoots that bitch down if it doesn't respond. It doesn't get a chance to go over our country. Okay, that's number two. Number three, okay, and this is my favorite one. The general, what's his nuts there, said, oh yeah, we had Chinese air balloons back when Trump was president, and he didn't do nothing. Well, how come he didn't? Oh, well, I didn't tell him. Well, fucking excuse me, treason? Hello? Like, no.
We didn't have balloons. We had like a balloon drop because, we had a lot to celebrate, but we didn't have. Come on, we have Space Force.
You have to think about things logically, and that's the thing is we as a people, unfortunately, they are attempting to program us, and I say that very specifically. They are attempting to program us to use emotion to make our decisions. That
Always.
emotion can be a factor, sure, but using emotions to make every single decision in your life is a recipe for disaster. Like they're telling you throw logic out the window. Hey, this is a man, nice nuts. That's no, like you can't. Like they're telling you to use logic and just throw that shit away like it don't mean nothing. Like, look, I don't care what you are or who you want to date or what. I don't care about any of that shit. But telling me that men and women isn't real, get the fuck out of here. Like that, you know what I mean? Like that's see, they're trying to make logic seem like it's unreal. Like logic doesn't matter. 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4, it's 5. And if you say 4, you're a racist. Must be one of them right-wing racist pieces of shit if you think 2 + 2 = 4. Well, no, it actually equals 4. It's fucking math, but all right. So
No, but it's the program. Yeah.
that's the programming. So it comes down to, I mean, I look at it this way. I don't buy into that shit. Somebody tries to push that shit onto me. I'm just, no. And
I mean, come on.
That's where we have to, as a people, start putting our foot down and saying, I don't accept you. I'm not going to accept your twisted version of reality as my own. It's not going to happen. I'm going to go with the actual reality. Thank you.
Well, okay, and coincidental that it happened to be the day or 2 days after the Pfizer report, which leads to the Pfizer stock price. Once the world begins to see and hear and find out and not be, like I have a very shadow banned account on Twitter right now, very shadow banned. It's Casper banned. And I've I mean, my tweets are deleting. I'm actually watching them delete in front of my eyes. And that's okay. I'm used to it. At least I have a Twitter account. I'm happy about that. But I wonder if I can get my $8 back. Anyway, I'm wondering, it all leads to money for all these globalists, right? It all leads to their stock price. So with the Pfizer report coming out, and of course, fake news hasn't been talking about it. They're not saying a word. They don't want to put anything out. This is really damning information you're putting out here, Marcel, about Adani. I mean, this is like, I'm just reading all of this stuff while we're talking. That it all boils down to the stock price for Pfizer and how significant that's going to drop. And they're already losing millions, if not billions right now in revenues. But again, we're only seeing what we're supposed to see. We're not really seeing what's really going on and how AMC should be at 70 right now, or silver should be at well over 100 right now, in my humble opinion. That's
one quick thing while I think about it. And you mentioned Pfizer stock. About every 2 to 3 weeks, it comes around. Pfizer's delisted, and they show that stupid piece of paper about the 0.25% notes.
And I thought they were delisted, and then I had to look at the note, and I was like, "Oof, I was off." Okay.
I encourage everybody to actually read what people post. It's so important. Like if they put it in front of you, like actually read. That 25 note thing has come around 15, 20 times now.
What's that? What is that form? Could you help me?
What that form actually is Pfizer put out a 0.25% interest note in a bond, basically, that people could buy so they could raise money, and then they would pay them, 0.25% interest back when they bought it back. So it was basically like people were loaning Pfizer money, and Pfizer paid a little bit of interest payment to them. Now, once all those bonds were complete and paid off, and the interest that Pfizer paid out for those, the bonds were useless. So you can't reuse them or whatever. So they delisted them from the market. That's what that paper
Got it.
is.
Oh, got it. Okay. Yeah, because they still had filings as of last week.
Yeah.
Although, did you see the filings though? It was interesting because there was a filing. I have it on my Twitter, and well, maybe I should show that screen. Where's Noel? Oh, I miss my. Let's see. How do I share my screen? Oh, well, okay. If you go on I'm not going to share my screen. It's let's see. Let me see if I can find it. Okay.
There you go. You've done it.
Yeah.
It's a miracle.
Wow, it's a
Check
miracle.
out at Santa Surfing on Twitter. Awesome.
I rely on Noel so much that what was I talking about? Oh, about Pfizer,
Squirrel.
about the Pfizer, and how there was a listing. I have to actually search this way
Squirrel.
because I'm not on the computer with all my good stuff. I don't know why I did this way, and that one doesn't have a camera. And I was like, it was about this right here, this filing with the Security and Exchange Commission, and I was really curious because I thought I really don't know what this is, and it's Robert Albert Bourla, who, if you take a look down at the bottom, it shows that he had some, it's like some sale activity, but there's a deadline date. See, I look at deadline dates. February 22nd of 2023. Can you guys see that? Okay.
Yep.
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 Okay. So what, and then I had to look up what that M stood for, and it's an exercise or conversion of derivative security exempted. So, because the other one is an acquisition, or they were acquiring. And so I've just found it interesting. There were a lot of these like statement of beneficial ownership filings by
Yeah. What
predominantly
these
4
are,
or 5 of the executives.
just as a basic thing for yourself and your viewers, because I know a lot of people have questions on these. A lot of members of the board, CEO, etc., instead of getting they don't get like paychecks like we do. They don't, like, every week they get a paycheck and they go to the bank, and and then the bank's closed, so then they got to sign it and use the remote deposit feature, and then it's tied up for 5 days. Like, they don't fuck around with any of that. What they do is, instead of a paycheck, they get issued stock.
Mhm.
Like, that's their paycheck. And a lot of times what these filings are, and I'm not sure, I haven't actually had a chance to go through this filing, but a lot of times these types of filings, this change of ownership with the A, which is acquired, that's like their pay for the year.
Oh, got it. Okay. Just like Bezos only paid himself $81,000 a year, but he got a boatload of stock. So,
Right. Yeah. They
okay.
don't get paid a lot of cash typically.
Okay.
Big corporations, typically they get paid in stock options, things like that. Like Adam Aaron has the same thing. Like every year he gets, it's called vesting. He's vested so many shares every year that get turned and put into his name.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you sharing that because I was just like, I was like, well, what is this? But the statement of beneficial ownership is always kind of, I always look at that and think, oh, did Trump buy them? Did did it go to the Trump Treasury coffers? Did it go to the Defense Production Act,
I'm
Operation
still
Warp
wondering how
Speed?
13848 is going to play out. The executive order
Oh yeah,
13848,
oh yeah,
the acquiring assets of any foreign interference.
yeah. That's going to be
I,
very
I've
big.
always thought about it like this. This is a total opinion piece, but I've
Uh-huh.
always thought that played out like, how China's buying up all that farmland and all that stuff in the United States. I've always thought about it that they paid for all that farmland, and then it's all going to get taken back with 13848, and then they're fucked.
And a lot of the EOs, Congress bills, they're up to like 900, I think, Congress bills right now. Um, they're all very America first, we the people, Nasara, Jasara related, a lot are. And things that the Congress is talking about now, they filed with the 117th Congress, or they filed early on this year. So I kind of find it interesting. Do we have time to plow through some questions by any chance, or are you,
Yeah, why
yeah,
not?
okay. So I'm going through my santasurfing.locals.com, just to kind of give an intro on this. This is actually a page where we hang out. This is where I hang out the most. And so I chat, answer questions, laugh, cry. We hold each other, we hug each other, sing songs with each other, kumbaya. We argue with each other. It's great. It's a family. So, and we don't argue, but we have like our, sometimes we don't agree. We agree to disagree, which is fine. But I have some questions because some of these, there's a lot of investors in here. There's some questions, but somebody had rolled over the retirement into gold and silver. It cost $8,000 to secure $40,000. So in the past, have seen a slight increase in value. Wanted to know about, some say QFS has mirrored something. Are you familiar with the QFS? You both are, yeah? The quantum financial system. Are you familiar with that? The quantum financial system has been in the beta stages since 2020. A lot of people got their debts removed, and then now it's ready. It's kind of standing on the sidelines, ready to unleash. It would replace the current system that we have right now. this is from information that was given to me and information I actually researched. And this is my gig right here. That's what I like to talk to. The IRS has requirements. I guess this person, Rox, just wants to know, is it rigged? Is the gold and silver rigged?
Of course.
Okay.
course it is.
It is right now, not to your advantage, Rox. Okay. Rox is the name of the person. Okay. All right. There was a couple of questions by your listener, Aaron, and it's your
You know, to your point,
Elect Carol.
and that's Carol. She had some questions here. I wanted to go ahead and
to your
get
point
to
real quick,
you.
asking about if it's rigged. Just wanted to share this real quick. This is, if you can see it on your screen, is the notional amounts of precious metals contract by maturity. And as you can see, this from 2001 all the way to 2022. And look at what happened at the end of 2021. Even though the precious metal contracts were increasing, for 2022, they are, 500%, 600% greater than they were any quarter prior to it, even though they were greatly inflated in 21 and 22. So, and also these precious metal contracts are traded almost exclusively on over the counter. That means it's all dark pools. So you can see here, over the counter means it's traded from one desk to another. It never hits the national best bid and offer. It's a way for them to suppress prices. And centrally cleared means that it's actually traded like on the New York Stock Exchange or on other lit markets, Investors Exchange, IEX, etc. You can see here in precious metals market, over the counter, 100% of JP Morgan Chase's derivatives are traded over the counter. 79% of Citibank's, 93% of Bank of America's, and 100% of Goldman, HSBC, and Wells Fargo, respectively. So they are trading almost every single one for 4 out of these top 6. Every single contract for precious metals is trading on dark pools, but it's technically called over the counter. It's not the same thing as dark pools, but it is in the dark. It prevents price discovery, and they do that specifically in order to maintain the prices where they want them. And the reason that they've been buying up so much actual physical silver and paper silver and gold is to suppress the price, and most likely because they're well aware of exactly what you're talking about with the collapse of the financial system and a transfer over to central bank digital coins and probably the quantum financial system as well. And that's why we've seen this massive jump.
So what the chart you're showing us right now, Marcel, is really, it's a lot more accurate. It's like 500 an ounce for gold, is that? Or for silver,
This
that is?
is the number in billions of notional amounts of precious metal contracts.
Okay.
So this goes to show, like previously in the fourth quarter of 2021, which is the most elevated it ever was, there was around 60 or 70 billion dollars worth of derivatives contracts in precious metals alone. And as you can see here in Q1, that number went up to $480 billion in one quarter. So they're trading back and forth derivatives contracts to suppress the price, and in order to prevent themselves from getting margin called on their positions. And that's why there's even currently a huge lack in the actual number of an amount of physical silver and gold compared to the paper silver and gold that's out there in existence. So yeah, I completely agree with you. Like the value of silver should easily be around $1,500 to $1,500 an ounce, in my opinion, and gold should easily be $20,000 an ounce, if not accounting for the manipulation that's occurring on the markets and
just from inflation alone.
Oh, that's interesting.
Literally from inflation alone, the price should be way higher than it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, but also it's being shorted into the ground, right? They're shorting these metals as far as possible. Like Bank of America leases silver from JP Morgan, and then they use that leased silver that they don't even take possession of to further short the price of silver to bring it down so that they can pick up more physical product and so on.
Oh my gosh. Do you have like YouTubes on, talking like to a third grader level person? Because I've always wondered how they did that. How were they able to suppress the price? And because everyone is in cahoots with everybody, Wall Street, you
The
know, the
deuce of cahoots.
market watch, all of the news, everyone's in cahoots. So I thought, well, they can go ahead and just say whatever they want, but that's how they do it. Now I get it. I'm having an aha moment. It's very exciting
Oh, I'm
because now
And
glad.
and
It is
you've actually,
Santa,
exciting. Once you
it,
get it,
it
it's like I can't believe it. Like it's right out in the open, you know?
well, you see, and this is your gig. This is your kuleana. Excuse me. This is your business. That's a Hawaiian word. This is your gig. Mine's different, but I need this because now I understand, and I know my viewers are going to be like having their aha moments right now. Thank you for explaining
Absolutely.
that, because gosh, I could sit and listen to you all day. The two of you talk all day about this kind of information because I think that's where a lot of people want to know. Why is it suppressed? How did it get suppressed? And then they'll know how their own marching orders of how to go forward. But also the dark pool or the dark money, or like you were saying, the paper that they were doing, all of the backroom deals that all the banks are doing on silver. That silver's going to explode like crazy. I mean, like you said, 1500, that was the number I had in my head. People ask me, what do you think it's at? And I don't say anything. Even my good friends, what do you think it's at? And I'm like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. But
If you
I,
use the
yeah,
number of derivatives contracts compared to the actual amount of silver out there, it should be somewhere around $700 to $900 an ounce. But when you take into account the fact that it's been heavily suppressed and shorted for decades, many, many decades, if not hundreds of years at this point, by these banks, uh, a short squeeze could easily bring that into the thousands for silver by itself, and that's why I say it could easily be $1,500 an ounce, and that's why I tell people that it's not just about one stock or one asset. It's about all assets combined. And certain things like housing and cars are very inflated, and other things like precious metals and meme stocks are, very undervalued because they've been so heavily shorted for so long.
mhm.
okay. So time frame, just my guess. I'm thinking like summertime because if the banks are losing money, or they don't, not the banks, excuse me, if the government's running out of money, allegedly by summertime, or I don't know. I'm just thinking summertime because everything is leading to the summer. But I'd love to hear your input. If you don't want to talk about time frame, I usually don't. I don't know why I'm asking you because I feel like a hypocrite now. But
Yeah, can you do
um,
something that I would never do myself?
We could
me,
talk about it, but it's really hard to pinpoint it with any accuracy. If
that's
you look at
interesting.
what happened in '09, it was like 2 years of just the market getting crushed before we
Mm,
saw the September 29th, 2008, 13% drop in the SPY, which at the time was the largest loss in the S&P 500 in a single day. And then 30 days later, almost exactly 30 days later, on October 28th, 2008, you saw Volkswagen, that was owned about 74% by Porsche, run to its all-time high of $1,000 a share as they reached a settlement agreement with the government and the short hedge funds that they were squeezing. And now it's you got stocks like AMC and GameStop that are 85% plus owned by retail investors, and out there with way higher short interest, double the short interest that Volkswagen had, and that's reported because it's all self-reported numbers. So the real value, the real short interest, we have no idea what it is. And the same thing's going on with silver and gold and other meme stocks as well. So that's why my theory has always been, when I realized what was going on in early to mid 2021, that I decided to invest in AMC and silver and other precious metals and meme stocks, was the fact that I might be in this for a few years. But just like the 2007 to 2009, great financial crisis, this is going to take a while. And it began in January 2021,
mhm.
January 2022, in which we started to see the markets begin to melt down, and now the Fed is tightening, and people are calling for a Fed pivot. But at the end of the day, the Fed pivot doesn't really matter because the market crashes always happen to the greatest extent after the Fed pivot. So that's the reality of the fact that even if the Fed does pivot, they always do it too late, and that's why they keep pushing the soft landing narrative, because they know it's not going to happen, but they want retail investors to stay in the market so that there can be bag holders in their pensions and 401ks and thrift savings plans and IRAs left over when the banks need to sell their positions.
Got it. Can I ask you another question?
Yeah,
Would you consider what these hedgies and bankers are doing as financial treason?
absolutely.
Okay. Okay. I'm good with
Absolutely.
that. Yeah, because
For sure.
yeah, I was just curious. I mean, I have my own opinions, but it's good to hear it from investors like you two, uh, because you're in it every day, all day, every day, and I'm not. No, I just do my trades once a week, twice a week, and that's it, and I'm done. Um, Now, other
Sunday
question.
night from 10:05 to 10:13 p.m. I'm not in it.
Mhm.
So I can't say that I'm in it all the time, but
Okay,
there
all
is
right.
that 8 minutes that I'm not in. So
Okay, so she asked about silver different from an AMC squeeze. I think you pretty much answered most of that. It's not like we can all run somewhere with our stacks of cash and our silver when it spikes in price. That's the redemption process. Does
yeah,
anyone have
I think
Carol, I love your question. Do you have both of you thoughts on that? Because in terms of the redemption process, will silver go very high and stay since it has been suppressed and isn't the correct price, or do we get to watch the value of our stacks go very high, then fall back down, not really getting to realize a gain because we
well, yeah,
don't sell
that's
it?
I think it'll follow almost anything else that has a massive movement in price, and I'm going to do this actually. I think and my family will appreciate this because they absolutely love the paint. I am going to share some paint here. Hold on. My
Yay, paint!
where is it? Here it is. Yes, everybody loves the paint. Okay. All right. Can you see this?
Yes, we
Uh-huh.
can.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Silver. Okay. Let me actually use a drawing tool. It's the Paint Pro over here. Um, so here's what it like a squeeze is like a parabolic move. So this is the type of move you typically see. Uh, it's a very sharp raise in price, and that's typically like a squeeze. You're going to see it's in a short time frame. You're going to see like exponential growth. Okay, so it's not just going to be like a. I mean, there is long squeezes, but I don't believe that's what we're looking at if we're thinking about like a silver squeeze, AMC squeeze, that kind of thing. Now, after a squeeze like this, typically what you're going to see is a sharp decline, but then you're going to see a rebound. And this is all like anybody that does stocks is something called the Fibonacci. Like there's certain percentages that you're going to see like 50% and what is it 68.2 and there's a bunch of you could draw a Fibonacci chart on this and actually see the bounce happen off of one of these charts. But anyways, you will see it probably do one of these, and if it's going to decline after, it'll decline later. But this is typically speaking, this time frame is going to
Hmm.
be a pretty long time frame. It's not going to be like a day, an
Hmm.
hour. Typically, you're going to see that sharp rise on an actual squeeze. You will see that sharp rise, and it'll take a while. For example, GameStop, January in 2021, you've got that sharp spike in price to 500, and then it came all the way down to like 60,
Hmm.
60 or 40. But then it came back up, and then it kind of did this for like a year and a half around the 200, 300 range. So even though you may not get this peak, this absolute highest value, you're probably going to end up in here.
Right. It's still good. It's still a win.
It's still
I
going to
have
be
quite
very a drastic change from where it was before.
right. Will you be now on that first peak?
Uh-huh.
Are you both going to be posting like this is it, or are you giving like a
I,
like
I've got to be honest. I don't know what Marcel's going to be doing, but I got to be honest. I will probably not say a whole lot as far as this is it, or I might just throw some party poppers and exciting fireworks gifts and stuff. But
okay,
you want to be, especially in the position that Marcel and I are in that we have followers, we have people that watch our stuff, and things like that. You have to be really careful in how you approach these kind of situations. Like if this were to happen,
hmm,
and let's say like right here, uh, I say, hey, this looks like a good spot to sell right here, and let's say some of my people sell right there. and then it ends up going higher, I could end
Yeah.
up with lawsuits on my hands where people are like, "Oh, he said to sell here," and I'm not even going to play around with any of that. I'm just,
Okay.
um,
Okay. Well, the ape craze is wonderful. I love the ape craze. I really do. And that's
but
how
that,
I
but
see
that's the
things
biggest
happening.
reason why I try to educate the people, in, educate the people that I have in my channel.
Mm.
It,
Okay.
that's really the biggest reason why is because then they're able to make their own decisions based on their own information, and they don't have to come to me and say, "Hey, is this the time to buy? Is this the time to sell?" Because I'm not going to answer that question anyways,
Okay.
although I do
You,
get asked.
I get that all the time. People are constantly asking me, "What should I buy? Can I buy this?" Oh yeah, I know it's not financial advice, but should I buy this or that? I'm like, man, that's literally the definition of financial advice. I'm sorry, I can't answer it.
there is a Fred Flint on your show that has his hand raised. Um,
Fred Flint? Yeah,
yeah.
let's hold on. Fred, hold on a second here, Fred. All right, Fred, how are you?
Hey, friends, can you hear me?
Sure can. I don't know. Can Santa boss? Can you hear him?
Yep. I can hear him.
Hey, guys. First of all, Marcel, thank you so much for your content and everything you've done in AMC Archive, everything for the AMC apes. I was part of that group from the 801. I made
Nice.
$600,000 on that trade.
Yes.
Nice.
I invested that into ape. I own 140. I owned 200, almost 200,000 shares of ape. But the IRS came at me
Oh,
because I had short-term capital gains taxes.
Yeah.
IRS is so corrupt, man. They really came at me. They were going to put a lien on my house and stuff.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I had to hire a tax attorney to negotiate a settlement with the fucking IRS for $72,000.
wow.
Yeah,
So
that's a hell of a settlement,
I
man.
paid them the money. But we're gonna be so fucking rich.
Man, he gets it. This guy gets it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So I'm in ape, man. I bought Marcel, I tweeted you, Fred Flint, man, and man, I'm already up 200% on my position right now on ape. And this thing's gonna go into the moon.
I love it.
So much fucking money. And these
Crazy.
guys these haters can kick rocks, man. I've been looking at Marcel, I've been listening to your videos, AMC Archive, the whole ape family. There's a bunch of haters out. Who is this Lou versus Wall Street guy? He comes on and says, "Oh, I'm gonna get on the ape on Monday." I'm like,
Yeah.
Ape's already up, man. Who is
Yeah,
this guy?
you're
man?
late.
This guy's a
You're late.
joke?
Jeez. Yeah, all of a sudden he comes out of the woodwork. Isn't that a miracle? It's an absolute miracle. Jeez.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean it's a we're gonna we are in for some really interesting market movements here very soon. With the way the cost to borrow has been on AMC, with the movement we're seeing in the stocks right now, one of the things before our call is done, and I don't know, Marcel, if your people would benefit from this too, but I'd like to go over the merge and split math Excel, which I did adjust to account for market cap,
All right.
just to
Nice.
kind of go over that with everybody. I think Santa's people would probably, anybody that's an AMC investor, I think it's important that, you understand the actual math behind it. So before we're done with that, before we're done with this call, I think I'll hop into that. I actually think I am going to do that right now. Go over it real quick. And Marcel, you can hop into it anytime if you have something to add on it. But I want to.
While you get to that, while you're getting that pulled up, I'd like people to take a quick note of something. For the second day in a row, today, February 6th, 2023, HSBC has done the same exact thing that we saw Lehman Brothers do. And that was they sent a notification to settlement operations of the Depository Trust Clearing Corporation stating that HSBC refuses to make maturity presentments and interest payments for their institutional certificate of deposit that are due and payable through the DTC on February 6, 2023. So real quick, while you're pulling that up, because I know this is really important right here as well, let me just share my screen for the quickness so you guys can see what I'm talking about before you jump into that, because as you can see here, this is a screenshot that was taken today.
Okay.
And it's this for a money market instrument. Money market and hedge funds. Money market funds and hedge funds have the vast majority of the risk, especially as well as market makers. So the vast majority of the risk now has been taken off of some of these prime brokers and put on these market makers, hedge funds, and money market funds. And what we're seeing here is an issuer failure from HSBC Bank USA in settlement operations to the DTCC. So for the second day in a row, the issuing paying agent for HSBC notes that they refused the maturity presentments and interest payments for their institutional certificate of deposits that are due and payable through DTC on February 6th of 2023. And in accordance with the DTC's rules, they say the issuer's interest payment will not be completed today. This is the exact same thing that we saw happen with Lehman Brothers before they collapsed.
Yep.
I do not think that this is a coincidence in any way. This does not happen unless there are defaults. They are literally defaulting on their fucking interest payments right now.
Oh my gosh, we needed to see this.
I thought
my
so.
God. Oh my gosh. Yes.
I thought so too.
Oh man, I'm so stoked right now.
That's what I'm talking about.
I just want to go grab my surfboard and go right away right now. I'm so freaking happy.
Oh shit. Yeah, this happened to Lehman Brothers, but they never.
This is what I need to see.
They never had 2 days in a row at Lehman. They had a few of these, but never twice in a row. This is like absolute insanity. Now I'm just wondering, like, who's next? Credit Suisse, Bank of America. What's going to cause it? Is it going to be the interest rate hikes? Is it going to be Americans' savings plummeting? Is it going to be credit card debt through the roof? Is it going to be the fact that 53% of all Canadians have adjustable rate mortgages that interest rate payments keep going up higher and higher on? Like we can just go on and on. There are thousands of different things that could ignite this time bomb and ignite this bomb at any moment. It's really kind of insane.
There's a couple of markers I'm looking at. Well, you both know what's going on, and I'm happy to be, let's just say I'm happy to be back on Twitter,
Welcome
reuniting
back
with some people. Okay. The couple of markers I'm looking at is JP Morgan. Any big news now? Yeah, they closed some of their ATMs. That's not big news. Some big news, something like this. Then from what I've been told, and this particular person has been spot on. You can ask anyone in my locals group. Spot on, and it's interesting. Anyway, JP Morgan demise and the Russia and Ukrainian war are the two significant markers when we start going into hyperdrive. And this is, oh my gosh, this is exactly the kind of news that's going to lead into that. Plus, I don't know if you heard, but did you hear about DC getting boarded up again? They're getting guard gated again. Which tells me what kind of non-Soros funded riots and things will happen over there, because everything's all connected. Oh, Marcel, I could give you a big surfer hug. I just dig this news.
I agree. You know what? It's the thing. It's the fucked up thing is this is so so overdue that I think we're just happy let's just get this shit over with. Let's get this show on the road already.
Yeah. Well, it comes down to, I get asked that all the time. How come it's inevitable they're going to lose. It's inevitable these things are going to crash. And we all know it. Everybody knows it. They know it. We know it. Literally everybody knows it, except for Fred down on 6th Street. He doesn't know it, but he doesn't pay attention to that shit anyway. But everybody but Fred knows it. So why hasn't it happened? The reason it hasn't happened is because they're literally fighting for their lives. They're trying to do everything they can to try and survive. They're in a survival mode. One of the other things they're doing, and our friend Kenneth Cordell Griffin has done this. He went and bought
The
a
banana
$100 million
recipient.
Yeah.
home in Florida. Now, under normal circumstances, you'd be like, okay, he bought a home in Florida. What's the big deal with that? Well, Marcel, would you like to elaborate on bankruptcy law in Florida?
Well, in Florida, if say the federal government has a reason to take your home and take due to fraud in Florida, that's not possible. Whereas in Illinois, where he was previously in Chicago, the government can actually go in and take your home. But there's a reason that he bought Florida's most expensive home ever. I think around $120 million was because it's a good store of wealth in case he does get RICO charges against him and has a lot of his assets seized. They would not be able to take his home due to Florida laws, per my understanding.
Yeah. So how convenient. I think a lot of that is happening. A lot of prep to survive, or what can I? Because honestly, if you have $100 million home, and if Citadel were to crash down and everything, so what? I've got $100 million home. I'm good. Like, I mean, does anyone ever really need more than $100 million? I think you can. I think I don't care how lavish your friggin' lifestyle is. I think $100 million, you're probably good. I think at that point. So I think a lot of that is probably going on. Some of it is up front, like the Citadel, Ken Griffin's house in Florida. But I think a lot of it is probably behind the scenes that we don't know about. I think more of it's going to come out, but that's what I think. I think they're trying to prep and survive, and they're delaying as much as they can, even though it's costing them a ridiculous amount of money. That's the other thing. The delay in all of this is not free. It's not free. It costs a ridiculous amount of money daily.
Inflation
to keep this charade up.
There's got to be a way that he gets caught because he's a crook. In my opinion, humble opinion, in case you're listening, this banana recipient. This is incredible, though. I'm still having heart palpitations from that DTCC report, though, Marcel. I really am. That's the kind of news I look for. That's the kind of information I see that's going to lead us a lot closer to where we need to go. I mean, we got this ridiculous guy going in for the State of the Union. For goodness sakes, we need Ozzy Osbourne to do the interpretation. We'd understand Ozzy a lot better than we would this guy, But
what Biden is trying to say is,
hell yeah.
Oh, but that would be so entertaining. Yeah. Well, you have Gary on, who's on your he had his hand raised for a while. I don't even know if he's here now. I think he left.
Oh, he's raised it back up. He
and then Mark McDonald.
Mark. All right, hold on here. Let me get my thing set back up here. I'm all over the place now. I'm still sharing screens. I'm doing all kinds of crazy shit here. All right, hold on. Let me reset and get back to business.
Sorry about that. I just was so excited about that. I'm like, I got to bring this up before we move on.
No, don't be sorry at all. Are you kidding me?
No way.
Ask your wife to give you a big old hug for me, please. I love it. Oh my gosh. And that was, yeah.
That's incredible, right?
History repeats itself too.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're seeing. And that's why, I bring up the charts and stuff like that. It's clearly evidenced on the charts. You know what I mean? You overlay 2008, 2000, 1987, 1929, and everything else in between. And they all look exactly the same as right now. Like, market crashes don't happen in a day. Like the vast majority of the issues in a market crash happen at the back end, right? All at the same time. Everything is just leading up to that, and that's the situation we're in right now.
All right, Gary D.
I am here. How you doing, Aaron?
Good. How you doing, bud?
Good. Hey, first of all, I just want to thank you as always. You've been great in answering questions in between your podcast here. Santa, I've been following you. Love you, and I am very jealous. I've been to your island several times and very, very jealous of where you live.
Well, there's a lot of liberals around here, so I kind of stay a little isolated.
Yeah, yeah.
I love my world in social media. Thank you, Gary. Mahalo. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Marcel, thank you for all that you do. I wasn't familiar with you, but now that I am, I'll be sure to follow. So I think this is a great panel to just throw this out there. So, I try to avoid being the conspiracy theorist, but I look at this AMC movement, kind of really kicking off the same time around the illegal inauguration that took place. I feel like this is all tied together. I feel like either AMC is going to just take off when it's time for Sleepy to depart, or vice versa. And I'm just
Sleepy.
Because
Yeah.
I've been feeling that ever since. I mean, that's just me hypothesizing, but I just feel like this is all part of the big play that's gonna happen. And I was just curious to get some thoughts from you all.
Well, you know, I'm going to say a couple of things. One, the timing of everything. You're absolutely right. Look at how everything is commingled and tied together. Anyways, that's. I mean, there is no doubt in my mind that AMC is multi-purpose. Not only is it going to be the largest transfer of wealth in the history of the planet, the absolute largest transfer of wealth from the 1% to the 99%. Santa talks about Nisara Jasara, which is a different time on our planet where we do good things for people, and money is more for enriching our lives rather than for greed and some of the other things. How do you get something like that started is you put money into the hands of the apes. You put money into the hands of us real people who care about other real people. Like for my channel, for example, when I get asked, when AMC squeezes, is my channel going away? Hell no. We're going to transform into something else. We're going to transform into we're going to do actual charity work. We're going to actually go out and help people and build farms and build places for people to live and work and help people get back on their feet, or help people who are starving. People want to help animals, all kinds of different good things, and we would know that our money is actually going to the things that we want to do, and it's not just our little family here, our little group. It's apes all over. I don't know how many times I have seen people say, "Hey, when ape squeezes, I'm going to buy my mom a home. My mom took care of me my whole life. I'm going to make sure I take care of her." Or my neighbor or my cousin or my friend is in this situation and I would help them. As a whole, I mean, in any family, the apes is a big family. I mean, we're 4 million plus strong. We're a big ass family. And like any other family, we got our fucking weirdos, and we got people who are assholes, and we got greedy people, and we got every type. We're still a family though, but we got every type. But I'm going to say a majority of us are good people that want to help other people. And I think that us having that kind of access to resources is something that can move us forward to change the world for a much better place. Just I really honestly believe that AMC is a big part of that. For anybody who follows certain alternative news sources, do this. Like if you take every letter of AMC and convert it to a number, A is 1, C is 3, and M is 13. So if we add those together, you get the number 17. It's a pretty popular number, I've heard in some circles.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
You've heard of that number? Okay. It's just another strange coincidence. I mean, there's so many coincidences, and I know you said conspiracy theory, but you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the majority of conspiracy, quote unquote, conspiracy theories nowadays are turning out to be fucking true. Every single one of these bastards are coming true, and I absolutely love it. And it's so funny because like literally everything they're like, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. Like 6 to 12 months later, that bitch becomes true without fail.
Every damn time.
Almost every damn time. I mean, there's a few that are way the fuck out there that, maybe not. But for the most part, I mean, most of the main big stuff, we're right on the money. So don't ever wear that badge proudly now. I would say at this point we're at the point now where things have kind of changed, and I think most people are seeing things for what they are. If you go on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all these kind of places, you know what happens? Negative voices get amplified. Why? Because negative voices get more attention, more clicks, more people counteracting them. So those are the voices that get amplified. So when you go on there and it feels like, man, these people are idiots. I can't believe they all believe like that was a Chinese, whatever bullshit fucking story it is that for that day. You have to understand that negative voices always get amplified more, and that's just playing on a natural human instinct to pay attention to things that are negative. Because back when we were living off the land, living in a cave or whatever, anything negative in your environment would have killed you. So it's instinctual to pay attention to negative things in your environment. So that's why, like on my show, anybody who comes to my show, one of the last things I always talk about is spread positivity. Take a few moments. I don't care if it's a random stranger on the street. You take some time and you spread some positivity. Everybody takes a few moments like that every single day. The world's a much better place. And I think the majority of people are starting to see the truth for what it is, starting to see things for what they are. I definitely know that the vast majority from all walks of life see the media for what it is. And the media is a giant steaming pile of horse shit. And I think everybody realizes that. And once everybody realizes that, that's where we start to make change for the better.
And Gary, just to piggyback off of what Aaron just talked about, is my big takeaway was when Dave Portnoy, I don't know if you saw this, Marcel, but he was invited. Remember, he did an interview at the Oval Office in 2020 or 2019. It was the best interview because President Trump has never had a great interview. Dave Portnoy walks in. He's a sports commentator
Yeah.
and an investor. He brings him in, and what happens months later? All of a sudden, everyone, the eight movement started, right? And GME, and then eventually AMC. So that was my takeaway. It was like, and then I watched that interview again. It was like he was just it was like a barbecue interview. So yes, it all ties in, and yes, we were needed, but we were not just needed for taking away shares from the bad people. We were needed, and the silver and gold by what you guys are doing, which is phenomenal. I mean, I remember I read one guy, he's like, I just got my allowance and I just bought one share of stock because I just want to do it for the right reasons. My dad told me so. And I'm thinking, how cool is that? It was a Reddit post. But I do believe that we were needed as we are with like digital soldiers. So it's all connected. And it just appears that we're coming down this really, I've said this last year though, so I don't want to stick my foot in my mouth, but it looks like we are coming down the final stretch because I've never seen that DTCC report before. So I'm going to keep going back to that, Marcel. All
Oh,
right.
I don't blame you. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
and obviously, Santa, I know you mentioned about, again, the census going up around the Capitol again, more tribunals, who knows, but, there's just too much going on. I mean, and if the bad people were really in control, the last 2 years seeing things happen where, people that were banned from Twitter are now back on Twitter and, collapsing of the FTX and all that. So, like I said, it's encouraging me for the future. And Aaron, you hit it, man. I've always wanted to be a philanthropist, and I want to be in a position, where I can do good in the world and leave a mark in the positive. And, and I've done well for myself, beyond the AMC, and I just wish I could do more. And that's where I expect to be with this movement when things kind of happen. So appreciate it. And Marcel, I don't know if you have anything you want to interject, because I certainly, I've enjoyed it, and you seem to do a lot of great research because the TPCC also was kind of eye-opening.
I appreciate that. No, I don't really have much to say here. I think that Santa and Aaron summed it up really well. So appreciate you. Thanks for your support, man. It's good to meet you as well.
Thanks, Carrie.
Great. Thank you, both. Thank you all, and thanks for putting it together, Aaron. I'll let them know talk.
All right, sounds good, bud. Thanks for hopping in.
You had another, I think you have somebody else, Mark McDonald. He raised his hand.
No hands up as of now.
Oh, okay.
You know what?
So why don't I do that Excel real quick and get that
Sounds
in.
good. This is really important. Aaron's going to bring up his screen now and share some mathematics with us, because I know a lot of people aren't that great at math. And as he does that, I'd just like people to note that this is the third day or fourth day now, I believe. The fourth day that AMC is on the Reg Show threshold securities list. Therefore, the failures to deliver are through the roof, and they need to be returned. And that's probably got a lot to do with the fact that, Adani is no longer being usable as is the collateral. A lot of the money had to be moved out of them into other, blue chip stocks. And then you've also got AMC coming out with a conversion and a reverse split vote pretty soon. And it's been a hot point of debate for a lot of people in AMC because, well, to be honest with you, a lot of people are not all that educated in the market, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. However, there does need to be some transparency and some clear and concise thought without emotion. We have to have a well-elucidated conversation on what happens during a conversion and a reverse split. And a stock like AMC cannot be, it's like Wagyu beef compared to some of the other reverse splits that have occurred recently. And a lot of people try to compare, pink sheet, gray market, OTC, stocks and dividend placeholders to AMC, which they should not be whatsoever, because I don't compare my Wagyu beef to ground beef in any way.
That's a great analogy.
It is what it is, and Aaron's got some awesome math here that I'm going to zoom in on, because he's done a lot of the hard work for us here in figuring out the possibilities. Now, this is not financial advice of any sort, but it does show clearly the mathematics of a reverse split and a conversion and what they mean for AMC being able to pay off their debts. So take it away, my friend.
Yep. That's really the biggest part of this is, and I actually provide the Excel, so anybody after this, I'll make sure that Marcel gets a link where he can, if people want to grab the Excel, they can. Santa, I'll make sure that, your people have an access to the link, because you guys can have the Excel. You guys can go in, look at my formulas, play around with it, and see, do your own homework. This will help you to do that, because, and I'll show you right here, I've got it updated with the current prices that it ended at,
nice.
at regular trading. So if I change this price, you watch what happens to the rest of it. Everything will update.
Beautiful.
So if you go in here and you change the current share price, it'll update everything, and all the math will update all the way down.
Very
same
nice.
with the amount of shares. If you change this to 1,200, it updates everything, what your average cost per share is, your net results, how your net changes, how everything changes.
Okay.
So here's the basic part of it. Let's say you have 1,000 AMC in 2008. And this is just the first part of this. Okay. So people are saying, one of the big things that went out recently, there was a couple of YouTubers, there was one YouTuber specifically that said, Adam Aaron is taking 90% of your shares. Now I need to be super clear on this. He is not taking 90% of your shares. That he's not stealing 90% of your shares. And anybody that tells you that is doing one of two things. One, they are straight lying to you. Or two, they are so not educated on how this works that you shouldn't be for education purposes, for entertainment purposes only. You should not be using them for education if they don't understand that basic market mechanic, because it's the same as, and I'm going to show you with the math, it's the same as, I have 10 $1 bills. I'm going to give you one $10 bill. Oh, well, now I have $9 less. No, you don't. You
You still got 10 fucking dollars at the
still
end of
got
the day.
$10, bud. That's what these people are saying, and you need to think about it like that, and then you need to look at the source and understand why are they saying that. And I think I understand now. The people that are saying it, I'm going to assume, this is an assumption, but I'm going to show you through the math why I'm assuming this. Those are the people who sold their ape.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's
Interesting.
a really good point.
We're going to go through this, and I'm going to show you exactly why I think that. Okay, so you have 1,000. Let's say you start with 1,000 AMC 2008. Here's what you paid for them, average cost. This average cost is figured out by multiplying, this by this by this, adding it all together, which will get you these numbers here,
Uh-huh.
dividing by the total number of shares.
Uh-huh.
And this is what your current value of your shares is, okay, for AMC, for APE, and total. And look, see if I change this number, if I change the current price of AMC, you see how it goes up?
Yep.
So the math changes. And this is the net. Now, this is how much you paid for them versus how much it's worth now. So this is your net position. So
Sure.
right now, let's say you'd be in a negative if your average cost was this. But this is all, for example, the average cost could be anything. So it really doesn't matter. But that's why I'm including the Excel so you guys can see for yourself. So here's facts. And this is pulled right from the filing. AMC outstanding shares is 517,580,000 and change. APE shares is 929,849,000 and change, for a total of 1.44 billion shares total between the two.
Okay.
The current market cap of AMC is the number of shares multiplied by the current price per share, 680. So if this price were to go up to 10, watch that market cap. See how it goes. Okay. So again, that's another number that changes. So the current market cap of AMC is 3.5 billion. Current market cap of APE, 2.9 billion. They're getting fairly close now. There was a little bit of separation between. But the total market cap for both AMC and APE is $6.45 billion. Now that is, if you're thinking about it correctly, that is what AMC as a company is worth. It's the 6.4 billion. The stock, all stock that's out there is 6.45 billion. There is 1.44 billion shares. So if you were to merge your AMC and your APE shares together to make that 1.44 billion, your price per share would be $4.46 as of right now. And that's between two current prices of the two shares. Now, I didn't just add these two together, which is a mistake I made the first time I went to put this through.
Okay.
Instead, what I did was I took the total market cap, this $6.45 billion, and divided it by the number of total shares to come up with this 446. So that's the actual correct calculation for how they will determine what the price is after the merge. Now, you're going to reverse split after that because these are tied together. If you merge, it will reverse split. There is no one without the other. They're tied together. So if you reverse split, this is the 10 $1 bills for one $10 bill that we talked about. Your shares will go from 1.4 billion total shares to 144 million. And the price will go up by a factor of 10 to $44.62, up from $4.46. So this is that exchange where your shares, instead of having 10 $1 bills, you have one $10 bill. Now, the new market cap is going to be different because of fractional shares, little pieces of shares and things like that. But it's very, very close. And how do you figure that? It's $44.62 times the 144 million shares after the reverse split.
And let me explain real quick, if you could just pause it for 1 second. The reason is because if you add up your AMC and APE together and divide them by 10 and it equals a decimal point, Anything that's after that decimal point will be paid to you in cash. You will not receive shares. Therefore, that cash would be, that small amount would be paid to the retail investor in cash money, opposed to getting a share, because you're not going to get a fractional share after the reverse split and conversion. So if you think the conversion or reverse split is going to happen, you either have to buy or sell to make sure that after your AMC and APE are added up and then divided by 10, it equals a round number instead of ending in a decimal point. And that's why he's showing a very slight difference there in the market caps prior to post reverse split. It's not that AMC is going to lose money. It's that some of that money is going to get paid out to investors through the broker dealers because of that decimal point there. You will not receive fractional shares after the reverse split. You will only receive whole shares. In addition, to his point, you're not losing 90% of your shares, because if you were, AMC wouldn't be doing a 10-to-1 reverse split. You would just lose 10% of your 90% of your shares. You're getting 10 times the value for each share, and it's getting consolidated, as is the actual 1.4 billion being consolidated to 144 million, making share locates harder, increasing the cost to borrow, increasing volatility, and in my opinion, greatly increasing the ceiling for the stock price during an actual short squeeze. Please continue, my friend.
Yeah, with cost to borrow being what it is, as high as it is, that's with 1.44 billion shares out there. Now imagine you're down to 144 million shares. How hard is it to locate shares then? Because cost to borrow is directly proportional to how easy is it to locate a share. And if shares become harder to locate, that cost to borrow, oh my God, it's going to be stupid. So yeah, the new market cap's going to be slightly different. That's one reason, the fractional shares. The other reason actually is because of fractions of a penny. In the math here, there's fractions of a penny. It's like Superman. We're going to add them all up, send them to another account like Office Space, and then we'll have to burn this place to the ground to grab my red swing line stapler. All right, moving on. Okay, so in this example position up top, so you had 3,000 shares after the merge, 1,000 AMC, 2,008. So you'd have 300 shares after. And your average cost would be 10 times what it was. So 75 would be your average cost, and your price per share after would be 44.62. Your cost would be the same. See how it's 22,500, because you didn't pay any more for the shares. You paid the same amount, but your current value changes slightly, and that's because of the arbitrage up here. And I'm going to explain that in just a second. You're actually gaining $266 in this example scenario. Let's say you went heavy ape like I did. Okay. Me personally, I've gone heavy in ape. I've got a lot more ape than I do AMC. I've got all my original ones that were given to me during the split, and I've bought a shit ton since then. So let's say you went heavy ape. Your net position, look at that. You're after the merge and reverse split, you're gaining $4,000 in value on these shares. Let's say you went really super heavy. Let's say you went 50,000 ape. Let's say you really went all in on the ape.
Nice.
Your net position improves
to
by $60,000.
That's why the people that don't have that sold their ape and bought AMC with that money are upset about the reverse split and the conversion, because they're losing out.
Now let me show you
that own both.
What happened when people who got rid of their ape or didn't buy ape when it was cheap. If you have just 1,000 shares, you're going to lose a little bit of value here. If you have a lot of shares, you're going to lose even more value here.
So the people that sold their ape to buy AMC fucked up.
Just putting that out there.
Good job, Matt Kors.
These are the people that are fighting against the vote, and they're trying to convince people. So I want you guys to think about it like this. If they sold their ape at $6 or $7 when it first came out, or even $8, or even higher, if they captured it at one of those price points, you know what? They did all right. I'm going to say it. They did all right. where they took advantage of a situation where they made some money. However, when Ape came all the way down to 60 something cents, they missed that opportunity, and they're pissed about it.
Got it.
And they've probably done the math and said, "Oh fuck, I've missed my chance." But the thing is they still haven't missed their chance. They could buy in now,
Yeah.
but they're not going to, because now it's a matter of principle. Now that it's like, oh, I can convince enough people to not vote. I'm just going to tell you right now, the shit's in the bag. It's going to get voted through.
It's in the bag.
So,
one thing that people don't realize is that ComputerShare is going to vote 80% of their shares yes and the other 20% no. That's going to secure almost all the votes we need. And I know in the think tank alone, in my Discord, there's probably more than enough shares voting yes right there to push us into the yes and the conversion or reverse split. And this isn't financial advice of any sort. That's just my theory, my guess.
Nothing. None of this is in financial advice.
Right. I just wanted to put it at that very point so that people don't get the wrong idea. Now, this is the real juicy part. Explain to us what here happens when AMC sells shares, because we saw in January of 2021, AMC ran up crazy thousands of percentage points after when AMC was selling shares. And in May and June of 2021, AMC's price ran up to new all-time highs again when they were selling shares. So what's going to happen this time when they raise the $5 billion they need to pay off every penny of debt?
Well, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked, Marcel. Number one, our debt is currently what, 5.6? I think it is.
Well,
5.6
$5.5 billion, let's just say flat
about
number.
5.5. But I'm going to say this. With the way liquidity is now, and with the way banks are and markets and credit and everything else is right now, I could almost guarantee that at $4.5 billion or maybe even $4 billion, I bet you could make deals and get your debt wiped out. I bet you could. I bet you could. I bet you a lot of banks would take that money in hand right now because they're starving for liquidity. I bet you could pay it off cheap, but we're not going to do the math on that. We're going to do it on $5 billion. Let's say $5 billion is what it would take right now to pay off AMC debt and leave them in the cash positive position that they've been in because of dilution. Now, one of the other questions you want to ask yourself is this: is Adam Aaron going to dilute? Absolutely, he is going to dilute because he needs the cash to keep AMC on the forward progress and momentum that we've been on. He needs it to make sure the debt gets paid down. He needs it to acquire theaters. He needs it to do the popcorn business. He needs it to do the credit card. All these different things require capital. You have to have capital to grow as a business. You ever heard the phrase, you got to spend money to make money? Absolutely. And if he doesn't have capital, he's not going to be able to do it. So he's going to dilute, whether you vote yes or no, period. He's going to dilute.
What do you want him to dilute?
So what do you want him to dilute? If the vote is no, he's going to dilute Ape to raise $5 billion, and this is the current price of Ape, and this changes also. If you change the price up here, it changes down here and changes the numbers, and we'll look at that just to make sure. But I'm telling you right now, it works out no matter how you play it.
Wait, okay, can I ask you a
price of
question?
Ape,
Can I ask you a question? Couldn't he just like earn revenues and use that to pay down debt? I'm just thinking like a business owner.
But with the way
Understanding-
things are right now, the amount of debt interest and the amount of payments that he's making is preventing AMC from being cash flow positive on a quarterly basis. So it's important to pay. The interest is basically bleeding it's bleeding it out slow, and we're making progress on that every quarter. But if you have that debt paid off, or have a large cache of capital, and you're able to expand and grow, then you can overcome the debt and interest payments. Because sometimes it makes sense to not pay debt off.
Yeah, when they pay off their debt, they won't have those interest payments, and they'll be cash flow positive immediately if they pay off their debt.
Absolutely.
Right off the bat.
And be able to issue a dividend, which is the stake in the heart.
At $3.16 of Ape, the current price, how many Ape would be required to get $5 billion paid off?
1.582 billion Ape.
1.5 billion Ape that have not yet been issued would need to be issued to dilute the price, to dilute the value of AMC in order to sell, right?
Got it.
So if later on, at some point, APE is going to get merged in and reverse split anyways. It's going to happen at some point, whether it happens now or later. So that 1.582 billion would theoretically be 158 million after a merge and reverse split. So what if we merge and reverse split first? 5 billion. The share price was the 44.62, which we figured up here. You would only need 112 million shares to raise that 5 billion. So that's 46 million less shares that you didn't have to dilute to raise the same amount of money.
Very clever. Very clever. Nice spreadsheet, Aaron. Yeah, I definitely want a copy of this.
It is
it's
for
really
anybody
quite
that's
simple.
in the channel. It's currently in the channel. It's called the merge and split math. I'll send you the link.
And the reason that currently it would only take 1.5 billion APE is because of the market makers and short hedge funds are aware of the fact that AMC is currently withholding the selling of more APE until this conversion or reverse split vote happens. So the price is up to $3.16 in order to deter retail investors from buying more APE to take advantage of the arbitrage. If people vote no, APE will get shorted right back down to where it was. Say, for example, 66 cents. Show me over there where it says current APE price, Aaron. Type in 66 cents for the current APE price. How many APE would be needed? How many APE would be needed, bro?
Wow.
7.5 billion APE. No, that's more than exact.
So that's 645,518,384 shares more that would need to be sold if APE and AMC don't do the reverse split and conversion and have to sell off 7.5 billion APE, which they don't even have available for issuance in order to pay off their $5 billion. But
Oh my gosh.
so that's basically a savings of 645 million shares that would not have to be diluted at that price.
Okay.
At 44.62.
Uh,
So equals, let's see how much the value of that is. That's $28 billion worth of shares that you wouldn't have to dilute.
Holy shit.
amazing. God, this
So by not diluting, if APE goes back down to 66 cents and AMC has to dilute APE or have to sell APE, it would still be reflected on their balance sheet, which would reduce people's percentage holdings, and it would increase their dollar cost average as well. It basically fucks retail by not diluting, as far as that's the way that I'm seeing it. And anybody else can say otherwise, but I mean, I've been doing this over 20 years, and I see it clear as day. AMC, we don't know exactly when the shorts will have to cover or will have to close their positions. So what better way to make sure that AMC is set for the future, and this can go on another year or 2 or 3 as long as necessary. Too many people got into AMC thinking it was going to be an overnight short squeeze, and that's amateur. That's amateur hour, to be honest with you. When I got into this, I knew it was going to be a few years at least, until there was some sort of a financial crisis and hedge funds started going out of business because of those kinds of situations, as we stated earlier in the video. And that's kind of where we're at now. It's like if AMC pays off all their debt, does their conversion or reverse split, pays off their debt, that removes the covenants that prevent them from currently issuing a dividend, then they could issue a dividend, and that dividend would have to be paid by shorts. So any shorts left over after the dilution, which would most likely cause the share price to go higher and higher to new all-time highs, just like it happened the last time in June of 2021, all those dividends that were paid out wouldn't have to be paid by AMC. They'd have to be paid out by the shorts. Is that right or wrong?
Yes, that is absolutely right. If a dividend were to occur, any shorts that still exist in the stock have to pay that dividend. And with cash being at a premium, with liquidity being at a premium right now, they're done. They're done. Like the second, honestly, a cash dividend, not an NFT dividend, none of this other horse shit that people talk about all the time. A cash dividend. If AMC got debt free, got positive on the books, and Adam Aaron comes out and says, "Hey, we're going to do $4 a share." You want to see shorts fucking leaving fast? Oh, bye-bye. Gone. Wooden stake in the heart of them vampire sons of bitches. Done. Gone. History.
Okay, I have a real quick question then. The other day you posted on your Telegram, Aaron, about 0 shares available for AMC and APE, I believe it was.
Yep.
And then I have to take off to go to the airport, so I'll need to leave pretty soon. But can you explain that very briefly about what that was all about, please?
Yeah. 0 shares available basically when an individual or an institution goes to short a company, they have to borrow a share first. So what a short is for your viewers, Santa, that don't know what a short actually is, I'm going to explain it really quickly.
Oh, they know. Yeah.
Let's say Marcel has an apple, and I'm like, hey, Marcel, let me borrow your apple just for, a little while, a few days or whatever. And he's like, oh, okay, sure. So I go, and the current price for apples is $10. So I go out and I sell my apple at the market for $10 that I borrowed from Marcel.
Right.
Now, my hope is that the price of apples will go down. And if the price of apples goes down to $7, let's say, I'll go and I'll buy an apple for $7, and I'll go back to Marcel and say, here's the apple I borrowed from you. And he says, oh, thanks for my apple back. And I've kept the $3 difference.
Right.
That's what a short is. In order to do that, though, you have to borrow a share. If there's no shares to borrow, you cannot short, theoretically. Of course, there's still naked shorting, and they're playing algorithmic games. But it's much harder when there's shares not available.
Okay. So but the 0 was, so it wasn't like they didn't have any shares available. It was just, that was a chart specifically for.
That's available to borrow. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. That's what I needed, an explanation. I didn't call you last week, so I didn't get a chance to get that explanation. Well, I really appreciate this, but I'm sorry, I do need to get myself ready to go, and you guys can continue on, I guess. But I want to thank you very much, Marcel and Aaron. It was really fun, and I enjoyed this, and it was so informative. And I know that my viewers are going to want to have this again. But Marcel, how can we find you? It's Boss Blunts Blunts1 on Twitter.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Boss Blunts1, or on YouTube,
Okay.
The Butcher of Wall Street, or Boss Blunts. Either one will pop up. I'm
Okay.
on other socials as well. I'm on LinkedIn, Marcel Kalinovic, if you guys want to follow me on LinkedIn. It's a great community we've got going here, and I began doing this because the lack of financial education is fierce, and there's too much fear, uncertainty, and doubt going around by too many people in the community, but mainly it's ignorance, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's ignorance to the fact, to the way that markets work. Market mechanics are very hard to understand for a reason, because that's the way that the big boys want them to be. They don't want retail to understand what's going on. And so there's a lot of confusion out there, and there's a lot of people that are paid to misrepresent facts. And it's the opposite with people like you and I. We're out here giving unpopular opinions because we're not doing this for clout or followers. We're just trying to share it with people that have an open mind and are willing to learn, and then to go out and do their own due diligence to confirm if we're right or wrong, because that's what it's all about, right? Doing your own homework.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you have shows every day?
I don't. I own several businesses, so I stay pretty busy. I just, do videos, a couple times a week, 2-3 times a week, or when really crazy things are happening. For example, like HSBC defaulting on their loan payments, for example.
That's so crazy good. That's so crazy good. I got to listen to that podcast on that. And do you do live shows? So, because I like to read, I like to alert comments and everything. So
cool. Yeah, I like to do a lot of live shows. I don't even have time to edit videos, to be honest with you. So I just do everything live. And I see it this way: if I don't have enough knowledge or breadth of knowledge on the subject to do it live, then I shouldn't be doing it at all.
Oh. Okay. Well, see, with me, I tend to fall off my chair. I tend to leave the cameras from time to time because I'm grabbing a Coke or something like that.
We've all got our own system, right?
Yeah,
that's just
exactly.
my system. It's like, I don't want to be bothered to edit videos, so I'm just going to do it live. Fuck it, and we'll take it from there.
Good. I can probably save a lot of time doing that too. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time, Aaron. It's always a pleasure. I love you to death, my brother. So thank you very much. And then maybe we can get you a camera so we can actually put your picture up there.
Yeah, I know. Put my hands in my. I don't want to break the internet with how handsome I am, and I've always felt, my wife, and I don't want people knocking the door down like, oh my God, we got to see him. People screaming and throwing flowers and shit. I don't need none of that. But
You guys shared some
we'll
great
make it happen.
information.
We'll
Well, no,
make
I really, really appreciate this. You guys shared some valuable and great information, and I'm going to be doing the Samba dance when I say goodbye, which is a squirrel dance. Very popular, by the way. So, because I'm good, and I'll be looking for that DTCC posting, and I'll put that up. But can you share that spreadsheet with us, Aaron? That would be great because I know my
Yes.
viewers would like it. And for Santa Surfer viewers, please, please connect with Aaron and with it's AMC for All on Telegram and Boss Blunts at Butcher of Wall Street on YouTube. Oh, you're on YouTube
Yep.
as well. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Oh
we're
my
going to be on
gosh.
YouTube, Santa Surfing. Make sure you guys follow Santa Surfing and AMC Archive on Telegram. And what other platforms are you on? I know you've got a couple, don't you?
Yeah, I got Twitter, AMC for everyone.
AMC for everyone on Twitter. Awesome. And Santa
number
Surfing, how
4.
about yourself?
Santa Surfing, everything's Santa Surfing. You
Okay,
can't find me on YouTube though. So, but Santa
Too
Surfing
many
on
strikes.
Telegram, Twitter, and Truth. But I'm not in it for the followers. I don't think any of my viewers will tell you this. That I never tell anybody, ask anybody, could you share my video, please? Because I just kind of put it out there. This is great because all this information is rolling into what is to come. So the NESARA and JASARA. So I think it's fantastic. I love it, love it, love it. Thank you very much, Marcel.
Thank you as
Thank
well.
you, Aaron.
It's been a pleasure.
All right. God bless you guys. If you guys want to continue on, I'm just going to go ahead and turn my recording off. And if you guys want to continue on.
Oh, you're good. I think we should call it, right, Aaron? We've been going for 2 hours. We should do another one in the
Recording
near future.
stopped.
Yeah, we should just get together again sometime. Got some people asking to post the Excel in the Discord. So what I'll
Yeah.
do is I'll send it to you, and then you can post it up if they want to check it out or whatever.
Sounds good.
Let's do it again.
Thank
Let's
you
do it
so
again. I
much.
think a lot's going to happen this
Santa,
week.
let's do it. I love it.
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you,
Love it.
Marcel. Oh my God.
You
Mwah,
too.
mwah, mwah. Big, big aloha hugs here. Thanks so much, guys. You're so adorable. I need to see your face, Aaron. I haven't seen you in a long time. All right.
It's
So
been a while. It's been a long time for sure.
it has. It sure has.
Send
All
it
right,
my way,
guys.
too.
Enjoy. Stay warm.
Thank you.
And thanks. And then I will see you guys. I'll definitely chat with you later this week. Thanks again so much, Marcel. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, you too.
And really helpful. And my audience is going to love you. You'll get more followers tomorrow. I
I'm
know
gonna
it. Or
follow
whenever
you.
you have your next YouTube.
I'm going to follow Santa Surfing right now.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Take care.
God bless you guys. Take care. Thanks again.
Bye, Lonnie.
Bye. I'm just going to turn mine off and then you guys can chat if you want.
Yeah, I think we should
Marcel,
call
I got-
it. Hey,
I
send
got
me
one
that
person
right away.
who would like to talk to you before you take off.
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the President-elect Carol. President-elect Carol.
Hey, Aaron, thank you so much. Hey, Marcel, thank you for being here.
Hey,
I
Carol,
have
thank
one
you.
burning question, and you mentioned a little bit about it. You said that because when the reverse split happened, what do you call it? The conversion and the reverse split happens, and the ceiling is going to be higher for the split, for the squeeze. So talk to me, because, I have all my numbers worked out. My first batch is at 1,000. My second batch is at 10,000, and it can really get me where I want to go. But it seems like I have to do a multiplier on these now for my little buckets when I'm going to sell. In order, if I have, 10, a tenth of the shares, I can't get to the numbers I wanted to get to.
Mm-hmm. I understand what you're saying. Here's the thing: we've got to do a mental exercise, right? And that's previously. What did you think AMC would go to realistically, right? And this is just a mental exercise, right? Because nobody can see the future, so we can't see what would happen before or after the split unless it happens, right? So people can say right now, I want AMC. AMC is going to go to $19,000 a share, or let's just use an easier number, $20,000 a share. Okay, great. AMC got halted today for going up $1.50. What makes us so sure that it ever had the capability of going to $20,000 a share? Now, don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean that I do or don't think that AMC could get to $20,000 a share before a reverse split or conversion, right? But what makes anybody so sure that that's even physically possible? That there wouldn't be some sort of issues or retail wouldn't sell or other things that would prevent the stock from going to 20,000. Like, Carol, what do you think? Like, just flat out.
Well, so one time, Aaron, we did a call, and he showed us a spreadsheet, and we watched it on the level 2, where the shares went up. A million, somebody covered 1 million shares in a quick amount of time, and the stock price went up 15%. Okay. And so he did a little spreadsheet of what would happen with as many shorts as there were at the time. And we got easily up to 70,000, per 65,000 per, if, if it halts, it goes, and it wasn't going to happen in one day. Obviously, it would happen over a number of weeks. So are you saying that's not, realistic? Because and now we just take what they say. There's 200 million shares, whatever, however many right now today, or they admit are shorted, which they can lie about it anyway. But I personally believe there's more like 25 or 50 billion shorted. So they're going to have to buy them and rebuy them and rebuy them and rebuy them. I don't care if it only goes up 0.5% each time they buy those shares. It should be explosive. That's just all what I'm thinking.
Well, the market is very fluid. Right. And so there's no guarantees is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it is or it isn't possible. I'm saying that the market is constantly fluid and constantly changing. So the price effect that it would have for covering 1 million shares does not mean that it would have that same exact price effect all the way throughout covering, hundreds of millions of shares, right? 120 million reported short interest or whatever, which is ridiculous. 23% reported short interest currently on AMC. And we all really know that the actual short interest, when you take into account rehypothecations, married and divorced puts, shorts marked as long, is the contract, swaps, futures, tokenized securities, and all sorts of other things, it's way higher than 23%. So we don't really know if it would ever really get to that number, because people would also be selling on the way up. Okay? So we can't say that...
Yeah, it could also get worse because of compounding. Don't forget that.
Exactly. So these exercises are good for having an idea or an understanding, but that doesn't mean that it's even remotely possible or impossible. It's highly improbable, actually, because how many of you are going to hold if you see the stock at 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, 60,000 a share? A lot of people are going to be like, fuck that, I'm out, and they're going to make hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe billions of dollars, right? I'm here for billions with an S. That's why I've got such a vast number of call contracts and shares. That being said,
but it's harder to get there when you get a reverse split.
Well, it's easier to get there if there's a reverse split. The reason being because there are 10 times fewer shares available, and there would be it would make it harder to borrow. It would make share locates harder to happen, harder to find. It would increase the cost to borrow. And so therefore, all those factors would lead to a decreased willingness in broker-dealers, decreased willingness of the broker-dealers to lend those shares out to shorts as the price continues to go up. That would increase the cost to borrow.
Right, but it has to go up 10%, 10 times more than it would have.
But the thing you got to understand is market cap. You got to think in market cap
yeah,
rather than share price.
Yeah, what would the market cap of AMC be if it went up to $70,000 a share? That would be in the trillions and trillions of dollars.
That would be close to the same as 7,000 now.
Yeah, and so that's the thing is like...
It just goes up and it flashbacks down to where it belongs. It's not really saying the company's worth that. It's just like these dudes have to get their shares and the computer buys them at whatever price, right? Because there have been margin calls.
It's not that simple. It's not that simple. It's a very vast oversimplification of the fact. But so previously, did you ever think it could actually go to 70? I'm not being diminutive. I'm just saying, like, did you think it could go to $70,000 a share previously?
Oh yeah, I have it on my sheet.
Okay. So if you think it could go to $70,000 a share, what makes you not think that it wouldn't go to $700,000 a share?
I don't know. I guess that just sounds really crazy to me.
Right. Well, how many people do you think would say that $70,000 a share is really crazy?
You're right, everybody.
I'm not trying to grill you. I'm just trying to, look at it without emotion.
let's remove.
Yeah, Carol, you're right. Let's just remove all the emotion out of it. 70,000 times, 500 million shares would be the same thing as 700,000 times 144 million shares. If that makes sense, or I should have actually said times 1.4 billion, but you get my point. That at the end of the day,
No, I know exactly what you mean.
yeah, 70,000 now is the same equivalent as the thinking it'll go to $700,000 after the reverse split. I'm not saying that can or can't happen, but that would be a complete collapse of the financial system. And the DTC and the NSCC and the clearinghouses are not going to allow that to happen. They're not. Because without the financial system, the United States would lose all its power. America's power comes from, number one, its military, and number two, its stock market.
I have something I'd like to share real
Please
quick.
do. Yeah, please do.
Carol, the whole perception that a stock going into the hundreds of thousands per share it's a mental trick you're playing on yourself. So I'm just going to show you a stock.
I'd like to say real quick, people are saying that I said it would go over $100,000 a while ago. That's a downright lie. Never in my life have I said that AMC would go over $100,000 a share. I have never fucking said that in my life. Have I said it could go? Absolutely. AMC could go very fucking high. Do I really think it will? Absolutely fucking not. No, that'd be absurd. I don't think it will go that high. A lot of people are holding that high. Nothing I can do about that. I'm not here to provide financial advice. I'm not here to spread fear, uncertainty, or doubt. But one thing, and it's fairly certain, is that over $100,000 a share is pretty fucking ridiculous. It's pretty fucking ridiculous. But it's not unheard of. Look at Berkshire Hathaway. They're at $500,000 a share.
That's what I'm bringing up.
Berkshire Hathaway's at $500,000 a share. It's not impossible. It's just highly unlikely. And so we need to think without emotion. And that's what matters here. People are getting their emotions tied up and failing to understand that something could be very unlikely but still plausible.
I thought the idea was we wanted to bust the market. We wanted to break it down. Wasn't that what AMC was going to do? Pull it all down?
No, that's let me put it this way. We have a broken financial system. And the way that shorts are allowed to operate right now, only having to report twice a month, allows them to manipulate stocks greatly beyond what should actually be possible. Therefore, AMC and GameStop and other meme stocks are a byproduct of this broken financial system. Mm-hmm. AMC is not going to break the system. The system is going to break because of the over-leveraging that's occurred on these stocks and other derivatives that we talked about earlier in this video. AMC is just going to be like a symptom, for example. It's a symptom, and it will be a byproduct. Its price will be a byproduct of the margin calls that occurred due to the dropping values of assets that are being fire sold by short hedge funds and family offices and prime brokers and broker dealers, et cetera, et cetera.
This is really good. I'm glad we're having this talk. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you. And so I just want you to be clear that you thinking that, I'm not saying you, Carol, but anybody in general, thinking AMC would go to $70,000 a share now is the equivalent of thinking it would go to $700,000 a share after the reverse split. Why is $700,000 so absurd, but $70,000 isn't? And that's the same thing as thinking like, oh, I needed to go to, let's just say $5,000 a share.
Such a great point.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying is people from the outside looking in, they're going to be like, are you kidding me? Why would any stock go to that kind of price? But I mean, it's happened in the past. And real quick, I will say this. Again, this is not financial advice, but if you take into account everything going on, the average price of AMC, in my opinion, could, I'm not saying it will, it could easily hit $13,000 a share. I think it could easily hit $13,000 a share. Now, so if I think that's based off of the math, based on the number of shares available and the number of shorts out there. In addition, aside from that, I would not be surprised in the slightest to see that there are over 50 billion synthetic shares of AMC and APE out there in existence. That was before, I said that before APE got issued. Now, I think it's double that.
100% agree.
I think there's over 100 billion synthetic shares of AMC and APE combined.
Ludicrous amount.
Yeah, ridiculous.
How did they ever get through all those? And how does that ever happen?
It's going to be a giant fucking mess, is what it is.
Yeah. But yeah, look, I got on my screen right now, Berkshire Hathaway, right, Aaron?
That's what I brought
$467,000 a
up.
fucking share.
That gets traded every day, Carol. Berkshire Hathaway, $467,000 a share.
And they've got a market cap of
It's all about
600.
perspective.
Yeah, they've got a market cap of
These guys are just all
$684
sunken
billion.
costs. They're like, what the hell? I mean, I'm going broke anyway. I'm just going to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Monopoly money to them.
It is monopoly money. So again, I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm just saying that they're all improbable, right? The higher the number, the less likely it is to happen. That doesn't. People need to realize there's a difference between impossible and improbable. And there's a vast difference there. The chances of that happening are slim, but not none. There is still a chance. However, if AMC does run up to a market cap of 684 billion, you know, that's like what, like 100 times of their current $6.5 billion market cap. That would be pretty crazy, you know. And again, that's not impossible, but it's unlikely. Therefore, I don't think that AMC would go that high. I don't need it to go that high. Like, let's put it this way: if AMC went to $70,000 a share, I would make like fucking $30 billion, maybe $40 billion, like a ridiculous amount of money. So it's like, how could that ever be possibly paid by the DTC and the NSC the participants? It couldn't, you know. And the fact of the matter is that things will get out of control, but how far out of control will they get before, you know, things have to get shut down is what you need to consider. So yeah, I have no intentions of holding that high.
Play the best ball, but not too far that you hold the bag.
Yeah. So it's just a mental exercise, right? I'm not trying to be diminutive or diminishing in any way, and I don't want to scare people or make them think that their ceiling or that their price, their target can't be hit. Because I could be wrong. We can go to $800,000 and I'll be like, wow, that was fucking awesome. I'll be the first one to jump for joy and say congratulations. We're all fucking billionaires, you know? It's just unlikely, you know? So if like you think now it would go to $5,000 a share with 10 times fewer shares and retail diamond handing their fucking shares and exercising call contracts on the way up, who the fuck are you or I to say it's not going to go to $50,000 a share for you to get that 10x price? We're nobody. It could very well happen, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Wow. This was really good. Thanks. Little reality
welcome.
check,
Thanks.
but also, you know what? It can always keep my hope, but you know.
Well, that's the thing is when it comes to emotion, it's like we all want it to get to our price, but we just don't know that it will. And so people will be like, oh, now it's got a 10x for me to get to where I want it. Well, yeah, sure. But what guarantee did we ever have it was going to get to your price previously anyway? Like, we don't have there's no guarantees in the stock market is all I'm trying to say, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's just because I really, there's so many naked shorts. That's why I just
I
figured
agree.
I
agree. This is going to be
Right.
fucking phenomenal. The mother of all short squeezes, without a doubt. And I get a question a lot, and it's like, and I get this a lot from GME elitists. I hold GameStop. I've held at GameStop since the same time I bought AMC. But I get it a lot. You know, do I think AMC will go as high as GameStop? And between you and I and everyone else here listening and watching, I think AMC is going to go way fucking higher than GameStop can go. It's evidence in the open interest. It's evidenced in the open interest. Go look at the options chain. Go look at the options chain right fucking now and look at the open interest on all of GameStop and then looking at the open interest of all of AMC. And GameStop's open interest is a tiny, tiny fraction of what AMC's open interest is. So
Yeah, we're the play. We are definitely the play.
Well,
And here's the
to that point, Marcel, something I think we're starting to see now is all the DRS that was done on GME, I think is removing a lot of liquidity in the stock. And that this type of liquidity, I'm not talking cash, I'm talking shares that are moving around. I think it's just it's really made the stock very stagnant from what I've seen.
DRS has not helped GameStop at all. Look at their cost to borrow is like 20%, and AMC's was over 600% yesterday and 400% today. Okay, DRS is not what everybody's making it out to be. Super Stonk is compromised. They fucking lied to you on Reddit. by pinning it at the top of every post and making people think that DRSing your shares was going to take them out of the DTC's hand. Yeah, it takes them out of the DTC's hands and gives them the seed and company that's owned by the fucking DTC. Come on, people.
And it's going to remove your ability to be agile.
Yeah,
that's always been my biggest thing.
It.
Because when it comes time to actually sell your shares, and you've got to queue up in line with all the other people who are sending emails and calling, DRS and computer share and doing all, and to combat that, somebody sold one share through computer share on a Tuesday, in October. And they were like, oh, it went pretty quick. I got it back in 15 minutes. And I was like, yeah, there's no fucking short squeeze happening right now. Obviously, it's going to go pretty quick. But when there's a short squeeze and you get a whole shitload of people trying to exit out of their positions through computer share, how agile are you really going to be when you're relying on some intern?
Exactly. Now, one other quick question I had. And I might be saying this word wrong, but the CIPIC, the numbers or something, I was thinking maybe they'd have to close before the shares are voted for because of the, they'd have to settle their failure to delivers before we can issue the new, is it CIPIC numbers or something?
No, QSIP, no, they can fail to deliver. They can, failing to deliver is sometimes a strategy. Sometimes they lose less money or make money by failing to deliver. It's a really fucked up game that we're playing. They don't have to close out their shorts before a new QSIP because the new QSIP, when they switch to the new QSIP, everything will just roll over to it. So that doesn't remove shorts. It doesn't force them to cover either. What will force them to close positions is AMC diluting shares, because when AMC sells shares, the stock price goes up. And when the stock price goes up, short hedge funds get margin called.
Okay.
I know it's counterintuitive. I've said it in the past. Previously, I thought that changing a QSIP would close the shorts, but it wouldn't. It would just roll them over. The shorts that would be closed on a QSIP change are naked shorts. Naked shorts would have to deliver borrowed shares to the broker-dealer, and it wouldn't be done by the SEC or FINRA or any other regulatory body. It would be done by the broker-dealer that wants their fucking shares back.
But then they just call them failure to delivers, right, if they don't return them.
Yeah, but then the broker-dealer would have to pay them. And the broker-dealers like IBKR and Fidelity and Schwab aren't going to go bankrupt for a short position. They're not going to go bankrupt for a short hedge fund. Does that make sense?
That's where they stop saying, I got you, bro. Don't worry about it. That's where they start saying, hey, no, I'm not going to cover you on this. We're not going to go down because of your stupid fucking bad play. Fucking pay up.
Yep.
Well, it's so cool to see the guy who I always watch on Twitter, and live and be able to talk to you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Carol, it's cool talking to you.
Yeah,
I think that's how we feel about it.
I like your questions. You brought the heat, Carol.
It's the first stock I ever bought, and I bought it because of a patriotism, because I wanted to take the little guy down. The little guy always gets taken down by the big guy, and I was like, not anymore. I'm done.
I love it.
That's where I'm coming
Fabulous.
from. And while I'm at it, may as well get really rich and be able to solve the world's problems.
United we stand, divided we fall.
Apes to the moon, baby.
That's
God, we're going to be so fucking rich. Damn, this is going to be great. I can't wait.
I know it is going to be fun.
All right, I see the Secret Service coming for you, Carol.
Okay, God bless. Thanks, God.
Have a good one.
Thank you, Carol.
Marcel, awesome as always, bud.
Let's call it a night. I got to go put the kids to bed. This has been so fun.
I got a long day of banging my head against the wall with call center reps and trying to. Always an adventure. Always an adventure for those of you on your side of this channel here. I own a call center too, so I have to manage the island of misfit toys 24/7. So
gotta love being a business owner, huh?
That's it. Hey, I would have it no other way. After being a business owner, I mean, I've worked in call centers for 27 years. I've owned mine for 11, and I will tell you, I will never work for another person again. It's just not going to happen. As much of a pain in the ass it is, having the ability to control your own fate, so to speak, is the ultimate way to go. And I encourage anybody to to take that risk. It's worth it. It is. It's absolutely worth it.
As the old saying goes, an entrepreneur would rather work 80 hours for himself than 40 hours for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, brother. Make sure you guys check out the Telegram channels and their Twitter feeds. I linked them both up in the description. I'll put them in the comments, as well as those spreadsheets and other information after the fact here. I'll put in the comments once this video shuts down and the live stream is over. Thank you, everybody. I wish you peace and wealth. Have a great fucking evening. We're gonna be so filthy fucking rich. God damn.
Woo, let's go.
Peace out, my friends. Thanks, brother.
All right, thank you, bud. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up for the night. As always, like I say,
I think it's time to blow this thing. Get everybody's stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Getting fucking rich. I want my fucking money. Griffin, I want my fucking money. Just want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Embroidery Kid, Jared Johnston, and Grandpa Barney. Thank you very much. Truly do appreciate your support. Thank you for the super chats. It is greatly appreciated, of course. Holy shit, we're gonna be so fucking rich. Great. Damn it, we're gonna be so fucking rich. Griffin, I want my fucking money.
You're an original,
Hey,
aren't
yelling,
you?
give me the fucking money. Get the goddamn money printer out.
Great. The bounty letter.
We're gonna be so fucking rich. Get the goddamn money printer out.